Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Is my mic good? Am I 5x5? Let me know in chat. Nice to see everybody popping in. It is a Monday night, kind of a different night for streaming for me, but it just worked out that way. Last weekend was pretty busy. As we go through the remainder of this year, it's probably going to continue to get busy, so bear with me as the schedule flip-flops a little bit here and there. As always, you'll be able to check the YouTube and Twitch for the schedule. I, unlike a lot of creators, am not consistent every single week. I do adjust my schedule depending on circumstances. I have a very busy job as well, full-time, family man, of course. Obviously, I do try to stick to the Tuesday shipyard shows, but what you may see coming up pretty soon here is some additional shows kind of pop up, some extra days switching here and there. So make sure you're subscribed to the Starjump X or Twitter account. Make sure you're checking and subscribe to the YouTube account and a follower on Twitch, if I can get that out. And you'll see, what stuff is being scheduled. So, yeah. Socially confused. Thank you. I am feeling better. Had a little bit of a headache the other day, so appreciate you all being patient with me delaying the episode a little bit here. So a couple things tonight. I thought tonight what we do is sort of go through, what's probably going to make up 2026 for Star Citizen. We're going to focus on stuff CIG has told us is coming in 2026. So we are going to be watching some of the CitizenCon Direct tonight, or quite a bit of it. Firebean just subscribed. Thank you very much, Firebean. Appreciate that. He just sent the javelin underneath. I think it was the javelin. And then, in addition, so actually, one second. Let me bring this up here. Beep, boop, beep, boop. Yeah, so we'll be talking about the stuff CIG's told us is coming in 2026, but then we're also going to do a little bit of talking on what we hope is going to come in 2026, what we hope is maybe part of the plan for next year. Obviously, CIG made it quite clear that next year, the stuff they went over in CitizenCon Direct was not everything, right? I think we can all agree that there's probably going to be a lot of stuff that they just haven't told us about yet. So stay tuned for what the year is going to bring. But I think we can speculate at least a little bit on what some of that stuff is. We may be wrong. We're going to speculate, but we may be a little high on copium, or we may be really pessimistic about certain features. But we're going to see. Fishbowl 1701 just subscribed as well. Thank you very much, Fishbowl. A couple of things I do need to go over tonight, though, real quick. I do need to fix a camera issue here, and it is fixed. We do have a giveaway going on tonight, okay? It's going to be not through a Gleam link like we usually do, because this is a different type of giveaway, but we're going to do one tonight. This is going to be, let me switch over to it. This is going to be for a Deadlock patch bundle, okay? This comes with the Starlancer skin, which is actually one of the cooler skins in my opinion, which they've been doing that a lot in the patch bundles. They've been giving some really cool skins for certain ships. So this would be Starlancer and Starlancer TAC. It comes with a custom set of Palantino armor that matches, as well as the weapon. And what is the weapon? The weapon is the F-55 Deadlock LMG, and then of course the Palatino Deadlock armor, which does look really cool in game, and the Starlancer Deadlock paint. So we're going to be giving that away. If you're wondering how we enter, or how you enter, I guess I should say, I'm going to tell you now. Okay, we're going to do this old school. Okay, we're going to do this old school way. If you are over on YouTube, okay, if you're watching on YouTube, I am pinning a link to the top of chat. Okay, I just pinned it to the top of chat. You're going to go to that link and you will just leave a comment. That is my RSI Perseus analysis video. You just leave a comment over there. It can be hi, hello, you're handsome, anything like that. You just leave a comment there. And in that comment, or from those comments, I will choose a random one from that. So that will be one finalist. And then if you're on Twitch, you don't have to do anything. Towards the end of the show, I'm going to do a Stream Racers, and you can all enter that while Stream Racers is going on. I'll take the winner from that. I'm going to throw you both in the Wheel of Names, and the winner that will win the Deadlock Patch Bundle. So, Stellar Scale Models, nice to see you. Hope you're doing well. Citizen Spooner, Citizen, nice to see you. Saw you on Paul Shelley's charity stream the other day. It was great seeing you. You were a little earlier in the day. You had the time slot I wanted. I ended up doing the 4 o'clock time slot, 4 o'clock my time time slot. Citizen says if they're going to keep selling this stuff, they need to separate the ship skin from the armor. I don't want the Star Lancer paint. You have to have the Star Lancer paint, though. No, I know. A lot of people, have been saying that. I wish they would do that too. I won't lie. The only reason I can think that they're kind of staying the course is because I have a feeling they're selling really well. That's my thinking. Now we have seen a price adjustment on this stuff. I think they started out at originally were like 35 or something like that, and they've kind of come down a little bit. I think the prices fluctuate too with the cost of or with the size of the ship and the paint associated with it. But I'm not 100% certain on that. Okay. So again, if you want to get in on that giveaway, just go to if you're on YouTube, go to the YouTube link, leave a comment on that video. Okay. You have to leave a comment, make it a positive comment. No, nothing trolly or negative. Not that you can't win with that, but you know. And then if you're on Twitch and you want to enter, you don't have to do anything just yet. What we're going to do for Twitch is later on the show, we're going to load up Stream Racers. You've seen us play that before. And when Stream Racers is going on, you'll be able to do exclamation race and enter that race. And then we'll hit go on it and we'll see who wins. And that will be one of the finalists. We'll put you both in the wheel of names, and that will be our winner. Simon Wolf has a question to kick off the show. I'll probably pick up some questions tonight, everyone, but I'll also probably kind of keep it moving. But has a question here: where can we find your Kraken Captain coffee mug, please? You know, I don't have it up here right now, but I got that from a friend. However, I'm coming out with my own Kraken Captain coffee mug, believe it or not. More on that really, really soon. So more on that really soon. Okay, so yes, that is the giveaway tonight, the Deadlock Patch Bundle. Get in on that if you can. I'll be kind of repeating how to enter every little bit here as we, truck on through tonight, because we'll have probably new people join. But great following coming out so far. 50, what do we got? 48 over on Twitch and 97 already on YouTube. Absolutely killer. I do appreciate you all coming by. Now, I do have one other cool thing to announce, or actually two cool things to announce. The first one is, let me switch over to it. If you are a Starjump Fleet Viewer fan and you missed the YouTube and Twitter announcements, or X announcements, however you want to say it, we did get the Stinger, the Shiv, and the Paladin into Starjump Fleet Viewer. All of them turned out really great. Big thanks to VMXEO for executing these renders for us, getting those done. If you were wondering if the Paladin was already in Fleet Viewer, it was, but it was using the Holo model version. So obviously VMXEO went through and did a better render of the ship. You can see the level of detail here. This is game accurate. So obviously you can check that out. And then, of course, the Gray's Market Shiv and the Asperia Stinger, okay, all in Fleet Viewer now. Also a big shout out to Starlet for getting those entered. It took a little bit longer to get them entered because we were doing some additional tech work on the back end. I know she was finishing some stuff. So real quick thing on this though, the Paladin Shadowfall, which we did have in Fleet Viewer, we removed just because we didn't render out a paint version for that. We might get back to that. We have some bigger priorities right now. So again, we may get back to that, but we'll have to see. As you all know, recently Starship 42, which was managed and created by Lunfacy, recently closed shop. That was another Fleet Viewer you could use. It used the Holo models from CIG, so you could rotate the camera in 3D and all that fun stuff. I use that website a lot myself. They closed shop, which I was really disappointed to see, but I get it. I get it's a lot of work to maintain these tool sites, so I do get that. So that being said, Starjump Fleet Viewer is definitely not just sort of resting on its laurels, or kind of sticking with what it is. We are talking right now behind the scenes about how and what to put into a Fleet Viewer version 2. It is something we're talking about, something we're thinking about. There's been discussions on everything from completely new UI and visuals to adding additional ship angles to new features like grouping and other things. So again, a lot of stuff we're considering. I think me, VMXEO, Starlet, we do want the show or the Starjump Fleet Viewer in general to be even better than what it is. So we want to kind of elevate it. We originally released as like a beta test version, and then we entered into what I call our version 1.0 status, which is where we're at now. And what we're sort of thinking here is something more like a version 2. And that would mean a little bit of an overhaul to Hangar.link as well, okay, because they're kind of both tied into it. Ambassador Kobe says full 3D rotation. Probably wouldn't be full 3D rotation, but it'd be more rotation than we have now. That's my goal. That's my goal. I don't know if it would be for all ships at once too, because it's a lot of rendering. So it would probably be the ships would probably be done in like batches, batches. So Citizen Spooner says, what about adding 3D weapons? That's something we want to do. There's actually been discussion in the past about weapons, modules, and what else? Cargo, visualization, and a couple other things actually. Nonstop bops in chat. Nonstop, hope you're well, buddy. We did get the stinger added to Fleet Viewer. I know you'll appreciate that. We did get the stinger added to Fleet Viewer. So enjoy. Nice to see you. I hope you're doing well. Everyone, make sure you check out Citizen Spooner and, of course, Nonstop Bops. Art, are you able to do a shout out for me for those two fine gentlemen on the Twitch? Appreciate it. If you can't, I will get to that. I'll definitely give you guys a shout out. Bear with me. But anyway, so one more announcement before we dive in tonight, and that is for an upcoming episode. Yes, the Shiv is in Fleet Viewer. An upcoming episode I have coming this Saturday. I don't have it on the schedule yet, but it's been discussed. It's been approved. This Saturday at 8 p.m., I'm going to be doing a special episode of Shipyard. And that episode is going to be pretty different. I don't know if you all will get a kick out of this, but my wife, who graciously allows me to stream and interact with you all a lot more regularly than I used to. And by that, I mean she takes care of the kid and does other stuff while I'm doing this. She has agreed, or actually, let me tell you, she does not know anything about Star Citizen. She doesn't know anything about the game. She doesn't know anything about the ships. She doesn't know anything about the manufacturer. She knows nothing about it. She knows it's a space game. That's pretty much it. So this Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern, Miss Starjump Grimm will join me for a special episode of Shipyard, where we're going to take sort of a part one. We're going to take a couple manufacturers, probably Drake, Origin, and one more manufacturer. We're going to start there. And I'm going to give her the elevator pitch for each ship. And she's going to rate them on a scale of 1 to 10, based purely off a one-liner and what they look like. I've always been curious. So this will be really interesting. Some of us in the ship focused content creators groups, we constantly talk about how we view ships versus like how a new player would view them. And I've been really curious to see like how someone that really doesn't know anything about the game would rate the ships. So she's going to find out the 1 or 2 sentence elevator pitch. I'll probably tell her what the ship does. Is it a salvager? Is it a miner? Is it a base builder? Is it a combat ship? And then she'll see a picture, video, or whatever of it, right? We might just use Fleet Viewer. And then she can give us a quick vote, scale of 1 to 10. If there's anyone from CIG watching, they'll be able to see what a complete Star Citizen, someone who knows nothing about Star Citizen, thinks about these ships. This will be an interesting marketing thought experiment. So it'll be kind of fun. It'll be different, and we'll say, yeah, maybe show her the trailers. Yeah, maybe that. You know what? I'm going to mention the prices, Spike. I'm going to mention the prices because that'll be interesting to kind of see how and if that affects her viewpoint on some of those things. Okay. So still working it out. Just decided on doing this tonight. And we'll see. We'll see what she thinks. Mac Unknown says, do you know what you're doing? Does the wife know your account spend? To some degree. But we're just going to go over not what I own. We're just going to go over what these ships cost. So we'll talk about the cost, or maybe we don't. Maybe we don't tell her the cost, and we just see how she takes it purely from the marketing information. We'll see. We'll look. But she does know that some of these ships are like stupid expensive. She does know that. So she does know that. Real quick here, we did have a couple questions. Artemis TGM said, Grim, just finished work. Do you have a link for that awesome hat? So this hat here, the Starjump hat. Do I have another one? I thought I did. I have another one somewhere. Let me see if I have it. No, I don't have it handy, but I do have another one of these hats that's all black. I don't have a link for these now, but you are going to be able to buy these. It's all set to go. I really just have to activate the storefront. There's a new Star Citizen or Starjump storefront. I just got to activate that, but we have hats. There's hoodies. There's some other stuff. The hats come in a couple different colors. This one's really nice form, fitting. It's the flex fit, so it's like nice quality and stuff. So yeah. Oh yeah, a couple other things. Please, I am trying to work up my referrals. I've only got a couple, I think, at this point. So make sure if you or a friend, or a friend who needs to start a new account and need a referral link you want to use, please use mine. If you are not already using your own, please make sure you use your own first, of course. But if you need someone else's, use mine. If I can get up to the 50 referrals to get the MISC Raptor, the Street Sweeper, then we will put the MISC Raptor into Fleet Viewer. That's what I'm going to do if we can get it there. So Stellar Scare Model says, need 2 more for the Raptor, hopefully at IAE. Stellar, you're going to have to tell me what the secret is. What is the secret to referrals? Because I have not cracked that code yet. I don't know. I don't know what the secret to referrals is. Okay. That being said, hey, there's Starjump Starlet in chat. Everyone give Starlet an 07. Starlet did a lot of work to get the new ships along with VMXEO into Fleet Viewer this week. So really appreciate you, Starlet. I was just telling people, we are thinking and talking about what a refresh of Hangar Link and Starjump Fleet Viewer would look like. There's discussions going on. So more to come on that as we start figuring that out. C Daddy CIG, nice to see you in chat. 07, nice to see you. C Daddy, I was just telling everybody, if you missed it, this Saturday, I'm going to be doing a special episode of Shipyard where my wife will join me on stream, who knows nothing about Star Citizen other than that it's some sort of space game. And we're going to run through a bunch of ships, and she's going to give them a vote on a 1 to 10 scale on what she likes, what she doesn't like. I'm going to give her the 1-line elevator pitch on the ship, what it does in the game, and show her some visuals of it, and we'll get the vote from her. We'll hear what she thinks of that ship. It'll get the rating. That'll be part 1. Part 2, we'll do another set of manufacturers, and we'll see where it lands. We'll see what happens with that. C Daddy, nice to see you. Says here, C-Day says, I did catch that. My wife knows more about SC than she would like. We went to a tech store called Micro Center and she kept calling it Microtech. Well, I totally understand. It's an understandable mistake. It's an understandable mistake. One more question here. Will the new Fleet Viewer include landed and flight poses? Probably not. And it has an issue with, it's an issue with how the rigging doesn't translate from Star Engine to StarFab to Blender on over. That problem has not been solved yet. But what we do want to do and what we do strive to do is ships that have radically different landed poses than their flight ready poses. We do try to do a landed pose for those. We haven't done a lot of them. We did it to the Corsair. I could see us doing that to ships like the Defender in the future, maybe the Raylan in the future. I could see us doing that type of stuff. We do try to, and we want to do extended and non-extended poses for the hull series. So again, it's something we try to do, but we just sort of have to see how difficult it is. Some of the ships have pretty complex rigging, like transformations. One more question here, then let's go to the main topic of the show. From John Shave says, Starjump Grim, how long until a Fleet Builders episode for that station assault with the trench run? Hey, that's actually a good idea. We do, I would like to get back to some Fleet Builders episodes. That was something Ender was kind of corralling a bit, but obviously he's dealing with other stuff, so we'll get back to that at some point. I'm currently building a lot of content sort of based off solo stuff right now. So a shipyard versus series is something that's coming real soon between me and VMXEO. I've already got all the graphics made for it. It's just really finding a time where VMXEO can align on a schedule to do that content. So, all right. We're going to kind of jump into some stuff here, and this is going to be one of those episodes where we sort of watch some of CitizenCon Direct. We talk about upcoming things. I'm going to put my headset on here so that I can actually hear what we're watching. But yeah, we're going to be watching a little bit of CitizenCon Direct. We're going to be talking about things that are probably going to be the focus of 2026, and then, of course, what we hope will be or what CIG has told us is coming in 2026 at CitizenCon Direct, but then also stuff we hope is coming in 2026. I think it was Jared. It was Jared that made it pretty clear that, obviously what we saw at CitCon Direct was not the end, was not the everything we were going to get next year. Obviously there's going to be other stuff coming. We know engineering, resource management is coming, and probably will be coming to the live build in sometime in 2026, but they didn't really focus on that CitizenCon Direct. So obviously there's stuff coming. So Stellar Scale says, don't get me wrong, but I love the old style of Starjump with the whole crew under VMXEO, Starlet, and Grim. Yeah, we'd like to get to that. VMXEO is awfully busy. Starlet is not big on being on the shows anymore. Obviously, open invite to any and all of them. Ender is currently going through life stuff right now as well. And it's kind of hard for him to keep up on what's happening in Star Citizen. So if I'm talking about Star Citizen and going in depth on a topic, it's difficult if he hasn't been following the topic. So, right now it's been sort of a solo endeavor. It's also been easier to manage my schedule. I don't have to coordinate with other people. It's hard enough to do this with one person, let alone multiple people, to be quite honest with you. So I think the rest of the crew would agree with me on that. And then, there's different times where we're into different things. Some of us are, there's times where we're not vibing on Star Citizen for 6 months or whatever, that's just how it is sometimes. So, but yes, keeping the fires hot. Mop and Bucket, thank you for that follow. Appreciate it. Sending the Kraken, best ship in the game, or best ship in the future game, flying across the bottom. All right, we're going to get started here. I did want to, let me go ahead and move over to the first topic, which is obviously the most, straightforward one. It is Nyx. It's like kind of I think was the big overarching umbrella thing showed at CitizenCon Direct. I think it was, a lot of the other a lot of the other presentations were sort of centered around Nix and content coming to Nix. And if you've been watching my streams, obviously you'll know that Nix is something I've been saying is coming into this year or beginning of next, all the way back, going back to the last IAE. Again, reason being is that VMXEO and maybe some others, but definitely VM, found references to Levski and Nix all the way back then. So there was stuff going client side, going all the way back then. And it just made sense to me based off timelines and stuff that we would see Nix come probably at the end of this year. Now, obviously, I didn't know the state that it would come in. So I think that's the first thing, right? Which is they talked to us about the state that Nix would come into the game, right? It's going to come in sort of how CIG used to do it, where the system was filled out over time, right? Because if any of you have been longtime players of Star Citizen, you'll know that Star Citizen, or at least Stanton wasn't just all together right from the get-go. Each landing zone would come. For example, Microtech came into the game, but New Babbage wasn't there from day one. New Babbage came in a later patch, right? So I think Nix is going to be built out the same way. And I did hear some people, I think it was Execute, maybe he was talking a little bit about, or maybe this was discussed on Paul's show, I can't remember. But those discussions around, how do people feel about that? Does it feel weird that we're getting Nix in an unfinished state? I actually just look at it as the normal way CIG is going to put systems into the game. DK, thank you for that follow. I look at Pyro actually as the outlier, right? Pyro came into the game with all of its planets, all of its moons, so many POIs and outposts and this and that. But I think that was purely because CIG just had a lot of time to work on it, because Pyro was specifically waiting for 4.0, or waiting for server meshing, right? And until server meshing was in a place to be released, they just kind of kept working on Pyro. So it got filled out, more and more filled out, more and more filled out. And so for me, Pyro is the exception. Now I'm speculating on that. Maybe that was, the development plan all along was to release it fully featured. But to me, Pyro just sort of benefited from the fact that server meshing was in development. So Pyro had a much longer development time to sort of fill out all of the parts and pieces of it, and then just drop it all to us, which did feel epic. It did feel pretty crazy to have this entirely, crazy amount of points of interest and interesting outposts and mission sets and all this stuff land in a whole new system. But I think Nix is going to be taking us a little bit back to how things used to be. And Pyro is missing things too. Yeah. Pyro is missing things too. We got a question from TSN Doomer. Hope the Texas Space Navy is doing well, Doomer. Says, what's your opinion on whether the introduction of Nix opens the opportunity to bring refinery ships in the game? Well, I think it does open up things. I think with things like resource management, crafting, base building and stuff coming, we're going to need on-site refining. And to me, that's going to be best done with a refinery ship. So I do think we're going to see refinery ships sooner rather than later. Possibly our first one next year, maybe in the form of the Expanse. We'll have to see. But let's go ahead and watch a little bit of this. We're going to do some pausing and all that stuff. Before I hit play on it, don't forget, if you want to get in on that giveaway, we are giving away a Deadlock patch bundle tonight. Okay, we're giving away a Deadlock patch bundle. If you want to get in on that and you're over on YouTube, there's a link pinned to the top of the YouTube chat. You just go to that video. It's my Perseus live discussion video. Just leave a comment there. We're going to pull a random comment that has been left during this show. We're going to pull a random comment from there. That will be one semifinalist. Then we're going to do a Stream Racers event for all of you on Twitch. We'll take the winner of each. We'll put you in the random wheel of names. We'll spin it, and whoever wins that will win the Deadlock patch bundle. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this. We're going to stop and start a little bit here, but I'm going to let the devs talk for a minute here. Welcome to Nix.
With the foundational technology now in place, the content development of the game is no longer restricted, allowing us to forge ahead with building out our first 5-star systems. Nix will see the much-loved Levski landing zone added back to the verse, while also bringing you one of its most iconic landmarks, the Glacium Belt, Here, you'll experience a new combined arms operation that will introduce new factions and new adventures for you to discover. With this edition of our third star system, we're also going to do something that's at the heart of the entire Star Citizen experience, and that is to build it right in front of you. As we have done this year, with the addition of several major locations, such as the Hathor facility or the Lazarus complex, we will continue to unveil new Nyx content throughout the year. It's a slightly different approach to how we deliver Pyro, but we feel this gets the content into your hands sooner and shows our intent as we continue our march towards 1.0. I'm so incredibly proud of the work our teams have done and are continuing to do, and we're excited to have you on this next step of our journey. And as with any journey in Star Citizen, that begins with a little story.
So let's pause right there for a second. Much like all those, if you go back and think of the content-driven approach this year, right, with Align and Mine, Resource Drive, Fight for Pyro, all those events that we did, those were adding POIs and facilities, sometimes major facilities, Onyx facilities, ASD facilities, Hathor, all that, adding all these facilities and locations of interest to Stanton and Pyro, right? So even those systems got locations added, right? And I think that's what is going to happen with Nyx, only Nyx will be built out along with content, right? So I have a feeling there's when Nyx 1, for example, the planet Nyx 1 does come into the system, we're going to have mission sets and content centered around Nyx 1 that take us there. And one nice thing about that is it's going to allow CIG to package up those additions to Nyx in a way that brings some pertinence to them, or gives them some meaning for why they're there beyond just filling out the system, and why we should be excited for them. So for example, Nyx 1 drops, they're going to have a whole patch centered around it with story, reasons to go there, point of interest to check out while you're on Nyx 1, missions built around Nyx 1. So I think that's going to be interesting, and maybe a better way of doing it in the past, where new locations were just added and the system filled out, but there was no context given to those locations. Now, not that CIG should ever hold back, that additional location, additional system planets and system moons. They shouldn't hold that back for the sake of story, not having any story to go along with it. But I do think having a little bit of that story does help with the release of it. By the way, everyone, Art, my show producer, is in chat right now. Art, hope you're doing well. How have you been, buddy?
Doing good, man. Doing good.
Very good. Very good. All right, everybody, we're going to continue on here. We're going to let them tell us a little bit about the Nyx, and then we're going to have a discussion about it. Now, luckily, this part, someone broke this into chapters, which is really great, but this goes on for about 25 minutes. We're not going to watch the whole thing. We're going to skip around a little bit. Mainly, I want to go to some of the areas where we see visuals and stuff, and we'll hear what they have to say. We're going to do a lot of stop starts and skipping around. So just bear with me a little bit here.
Telling on the road to 1.0. As this new chapter of Star Citizen begins, let's hear from just a few of the team members working to bring this next era of our universe to life.
There we go. We're jumping into a new system.
When the Nyx system was first discovered, the United Empire of Earth, the UAE, came out and did scans and kind of found out that the system wasn't really worth settling. The planets were too hard to terraform, the resources were too tough to get.
Did everyone notice there that
so they opened it up?
That CIG showed someone scanning in the Terrapin? That could have just been for flavor, obviously, but I don't know. I thought that was interesting. Someone was sitting in the scanning seat of the Terrapin scanning. Maybe that's a slight indication that scanning gameplay would be coming next year. We have heard that scanning has been worked on, the scanning V2. So maybe that is something CIG is targeting for next year. Maybe that was a little bit of a wink and a nod type drop that they put in here. I'll play it again.
When the Nix system was first discovered, the United Empire of Earth, the UAE, came out and did scans and kind of found out that the system wasn't really worth settling. The planets were too hard to terraform, the resources were too tough to get, so they opened it up. And one company saw opportunity where the UAE didn't, QV Planet Services. And so they expanded into the system and tried to mine as much as they could, making a very slim margin by the sheer quantity of resources they were pulling out.
The system itself sort of ran its course from sort of a large corporate interest perspective, and then was mostly left abandoned.
Now this ended up being the ideal situation for the People's Alliance, who were a group of revolutionaries who were trying to overthrow the dictatorship of the Messer regime that was going on in the empire at the time.
So they went to the Nix system and established what became known as Levski. They wanted to make it everything that the UEE wasn't at this time.
They set up what they saw as their ideal society, where everyone's voices would be heard, where everyone would be equal. But they've fallen onto hard times. So Nix today is kind of at an interesting point in its history. Now that the UEE has kind of transformed itself into a democratic society, what is their role? What are the People's Alliance rebelling against? And they still see the empire as being inherently unfair. They see their role as still trying to create a free and fair society. But on the other hand, they have more problems than ever. And there's new threats lurking around every corner. And they have to ask, are they prepared to handle that? Or do they need to turn to the UEE for help?
So one thing I like about the People's Alliance and you know, is that for Star Citizen for a long time was very like sort of black and white in terms of how it treated good and bad, you know what I mean, entities in the game. It was really either just sort of like the UEE and then there, which were this, you know, quote unquote, the good guys, you know, in a way, you know, and maybe the militias. And then on the other side were the pirates, right? And you can assign whatever name there. One thing I like about the People's Alliance is that they're one of those groups that sort of is like very much in the middle, and depending on the political or you know, story driven, you know, content that's coming into the game in that particular patch or over the course of a year or whatever, that group can start to swing a little bit in terms of, you know, how extreme they are, how democratic they are, how, you know, industrious they are, all that. So they can play a lot of different roles, and they're neither, you know, always good or always bad. I mean, I know when I play my characters from that sort of like role play standpoint, I like to sort of straddle that line a little bit. My character is not like always bad or always good. It really is someone trying to survive in the verse and is willing to do whatever they need to do to be able to do that. So some of these factions, like the People Alliance, kind of interest me just because I think CIG can do a lot with them. So I do find that kind of interesting. And by the way, everyone, if you do throw a question, make sure you put that question in brackets. Art will try to grab it, or I'll try to grab it. We put them in a list. I'll swing back to those at some point. Steele, I see you are messaging me some advice, so thank you very much. I might follow up with you on that later, so I do appreciate that. All right, let's continue on here.
Making a star system is you approach it from kind of two angles in a weird way. What is this system bringing to the gallery? How does this new system plug into it, and what does it bring to the table from a sort of a flavor experience? We want to make sure that whatever it's bringing to the company is unique and has some flair to it.
So the Nix system is a remote system.
I'm going to pause it here real quick because I have another announcement. On a recent stream, I talked about how the Carrack, which everyone knows I love the Carrack. I think the Carrack is a fantastic ship. It's one of the first big ships I got. I do still like the Carrack. I've said multiple times that I think in a Star System 1.0 world where the Carrack has the rest of its features and has been sort of brought up to more of a gold standard, I think the Carrack is going to be one of the better ships in the game. just because it has so much it offers. But after they CIG released the Paladin, the level of detail on the Paladin just again blows me away. We've already seen the level of detail on ships like the Polaris and stuff. I want to do an exercise where I take the Carrack and I do sort of a detail pass on the Carrack, using parts and pieces from other Anvil ships, not change the Carrack, not wildly change its look or anything, but just go through, add additional greebling, add back some elements from some of the Anvil kit to sort of bring its model up to, not saying modern standards, but up in detail level comparison to newer ships that are released. That's an exercise I'm going to do soon, probably next week. So stay tuned. That'll probably be next week's Shipyard episode. So, all right, continuing up.
Where people want to go and live free outside of the pressure and influence of the UEE. It's a remote and rugged system with a lot of hostility coming from the ever-present threat of Vandal.
It's kind of like a frontier-esque thing. It's not lawless like Pyro, it's just kind of out there. Pyro's more like a Mad Max wasteland.
In Rain, that is true. Not necessarily just adding Greebles for Greebles' sake, but there was stuff removed from the Carrack that I do wish would come back. Some of them were little details like antenna and a few other little things. So we're going to bring a little bit of that back. And there are some areas on the Carrack that are woefully simple compared to how CIG does modern ships. Got to remember, the Carrack's almost 6 years old now from when they were actually developing it. So a lot has changed. So the idea is not just to add a bunch of crap on top or a lot of Greeble stuff. It's to more add things that make sense. And again, it's going to be an exercise. It may not turn out very good. So C Daddy CIG reconfirming that for Nyx's initial release, obviously that Levski will be our main port of call. But obviously as they build Nyx out, they're going to get a good feel for what additional stations or planetary surface locations, asteroid stations, whatever needs to come to the system to better support things that are happening there. There's still part of me, I think, that hopes Nyx stays a little bare and actually doesn't have a lot of, location support. I think it would be cool to have a system where the players can kind of make it their own to some degree. Now, I know we need base building for that, but I don't know. I think that would be pretty cool.
Nyx is more like Silverado or like Deadwood, right? It's kind of like a smaller scope.
The emptiness and the loneliness is the defining factor. You're still going to find
Liam,
gangs,
thank
you're
you.
still going to find hostile presences, but it's where people go if they want to live off the grid.
The People's Alliance is the main peacekeeping force in Nyx.
They were unhappy with the direction that the Empire was going under the Messers. They got out. They said, we're just going to start from scratch, build our own society, but build it the way that we think it needs to be built.
They're not perfect. They're just people, but they're doing their best. They want to help keep Nyx safe and make it prosper.
They are trying to do the best that they can, but are faced with the realities of dealing with people, which is tricky.
So, that goes back a little bit to how we all thought that Pyro originally was going to be, where, I remember when Pyro was in development, everyone was like, oh, cool, Ruin Station, because that was supposed to be, I believe, and maybe some of the lore nerds can help me out with this, but I believe that Ruin Station was like the station in Pyro, and there wasn't a lot of other active stations. It was mainly just centered around Pyro. Now, obviously, it was centered around Ruin Station. Obviously, with Pyro now, we have other stations there. We have a lot of POIs, all that kind of stuff. I think the system is better for it, but I do see a benefit to having systems that are a little bit more empty, a little bit more bare, and with still some POIs, but a little bit more empty so that players can fill those out with their own bases, whether that be, homes or full-on landing zones that are player built. That would be really interesting to see. And it would be kind of having one system like that, especially for the 1.0 release, I think would be a good test case for further systems that CIG could create that maybe aren't on the star map, or are maybe unexplored regions. They don't always have to be centered around a star either. They could be unexplored regions of space that are a little bit more open and able to be explored without any defining characteristics already set up by CIG, where it's a system maybe that doesn't have any humans in it at all, etc. So I don't know, I think that would still be kind of interesting. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute though.
The Pyrostar is quite a warm star. Stanton star is quite neutral, and the Nix is a little bit cooler. The system has its star, and it has this dark, really, really dense gas sort of nebulous cloud. And it has points of light scattered around it, and those points of light in this gas cloud is really, really hazy. So because Nix is bordering Vandal space, it was important that we have a gap in the Nix gas cloud where you could sort of just, in between the clouds, see a piece of the Vandal space.
So, Coop, thank you for that follow, man. Appreciate it. Here's another interesting thing. Hebford asked earlier, by the way, do you believe Nix will only come with Levski or more places? Yeah, it's going to be Levski, but I think there'll be some possibly that's what it will initially launch with. But I do think in quick succession, probably in some patches right after the initial release, you're going to see things like maybe some asteroid bases come in, or maybe some abandoned derelict space stations or whatever. I think CIG is going to continue to fill it out with each release, right? Cooper, thank you for the subscription. Appreciate that. Give you the old 07, sending both the Kraken and Javelin underneath. Thank you very much for that support. But they're talking about here seeing the red nebula from, highlighting Vandal space. Now, one of the big things talked about with Nix is the Vandal raids. I know you're in chat here listening in. You are part of an org that does a lot of operations. Does the thought of Vandal interactions get you excited?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Especially with that, with them actually kind of starting up that whole raid process. Yeah. With what we're seeing with the multi-staging, where you can't just use one ship for everything. You're going to require more.
Those are the
what are they called? Like tactical operations?
Operations, yeah, I think that's it. The tactical operations, yeah.
I really hope. Well, I mean, I think we already know that this is kind of the start of those, and I think they're going to expand elsewhere. But it's going to be. I think it's good fun. I think it's going to be something that we're going to be doing a lot of, and it gives us an area where we can practice fleet maneuvers. We can practice all that kind of stuff, and with it being, at least from what they've said initially, in an instanced area, we don't have to worry about other people coming in and messing with that operation. Yeah. Whereas what we've got with the orbital platforms, or when we're running the worm and pyro, you always got to worry about people jumping in on top of you to fight the worm at the end, and you're like, we've done all this work and someone's going to come in and take it. So
yeah, I guess, and there's a lot of stuff we're going to talk about tonight, coming for 2026. Probably not everything listed on that was discussed at CitizenCon. We're going to kind of bounce around a lot, everyone, but I think that's a good place to start, which is instance content, especially centered around some of the gameplay mission sets. Man, that's a lot of snow. I do hope they tone that down a little bit. Some of the gameplay that they're doing in Nix. So the tactical fleet operations, which they seem to say were sort of centered around Nix. Maybe that was other systems, but it seemed to be centered around Nix. But then there's also like the rock cracker event and whatnot. So with instancing, one thing that I do think that's nice about is something what you were saying, which is, we do not have social tools in Star Citizen yet. We know they're coming. Hopefully that is a 2026 thing. I think we'll all talk about that here in a minute. But when you don't have those social tools, organizing a in-game, group event where your whole org is coming, maybe you have 20, 30, 40, 50 people involved in it. That is hard enough in a game where you don't have social tools, but then pile onto that an open world playground where other people can just sort of jump in and be a thorn in the operation. It's not like when you're playing World of Warcraft and you can, silo off into a raid where your 40 man or 20 man raid can focus at the highest level to accomplish a goal. I think this is going to alleviate a lot of issues across across that. Those lack of features being in the game is going to solve a lot of those problems, at least in the short term. But then also just give much better performance. It's going to give a place where orgs, I think, can really kind of hone their own internal organization and hierarchy standards, right? So how you and I think that is going to be good information for CIG to include in things like future social tool updates and stuff. So for example, if a big org can go into an instance scenario versus the Vandal, right? You fight the Vandal, you've got capital ships, you've got fighters, you've got FPS segments, all that, just like they talked about in the tactical fleet battle thing, whatever that is. You have an org that can go through that. They can give CIG the proper feedback. They can say, hey, this is great, but there's a lack of communication thing here, or the interaction of these ships is a problem here, this and that. It's going to allow CIG to develop tools, and both on the social side and on the mission set side, ship feature side, all that kind of stuff. They're going to be able to develop stuff that allow all of us to play better in just the regular open world too, but the instanced areas will allow for more focused testing of those ideas. And again, the only way I can really highlight it is, again, raiding in World of Warcraft. For example, if you have a group that high level raids in World of Warcraft, Blizzard is constantly, analyzing how certain AoE spells work, for example, in the raid environment. Changes get made accordingly based off that performance. Those changes then come obviously to the game holistically and makes those classes better, sometimes worse, but mostly better in the open world side of the game too, where you're just doing your solo missions and stuff. So again, sometimes that instanced experience can help infer positive things on the more solo or small group experiences or open world experiences. And I think that will be a good thing, because again, I've heard a lot of people complain about the instance stuff. There's been some negative reaction to it in terms of it moving away from sort of the always open verse. But, and again, I don't know how you feel about the instance stuff in regards to this, but I look at this as nothing new. I look at this as CIG kind of adopting what is pretty standard in a lot of MMOs, right? You have sort of an open world hub where 75% of the content is, and then you have 25% that are siloed instance experiences where you can go in, accomplish a goal, and then reap rewards that you can then take back out to your open world experience. I mean, in your org, has the reaction been, mostly positive? Has there been any negative reaction to the instant stuff?
It's kind of hit or miss. It depends on. We got some guys that are pretty hardcore, like, let's just go out and do this. Let's do it out in the real world. I'm of the aspect of it's a really good, an instanced area is a really good training tool. To kind of really kind of hone everything down to an edge, so that when we're out in the open world and we're doing an OLP, or we're doing the rock breaker or whatever, I don't have to, as a ship captain, I don't have to micromanage my gunners. I don't have to micromanage my fighters. Mm-hmm. If I'm in an Idris, launching people out, or I don't have to micromanage that as much, as because we're all kind of on the same page. I know where the fighters are going to generally go. And it's a good way to kind of, again, run it at a training pace, because as of right now, we don't know if there's any time limit on this and how long we're going to be there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good opportunity to kind of, like I said, hone your skills get used to training in an environment where we don't have to worry about people who may be using exploits or who just outnumber us, or some people just love to, just cause chaos.
And there will be people using exploits in the open world, 100%. And also, and again, I see in chat now there's some people that are not keen on the instancing. But the other thing too is some aspects of Star Citizen, sort of the Star Citizen dream, were never going to happen in the open world. The performance was just not going to be there. It's just impossible. We're years and years and years away from some of the performance I think that people were expecting out of completely open world Star Citizen with these massive fleet battles and all this stuff. It just was always going to be impossible. I still think there's going to be a lot of problems with it. For example, in dynamic server meshing, I'll be real interested to see how dynamic server meshing will handle hundreds and hundreds of people congregating in one area for a big fleet battle. Hopefully it will be able to throttle and deal with everything okay, but there are limits. There's hard limits to games. They cannot do everything. And I think we all as players, we have to be realistic to some degree and understand where those limitations are and the best way to solve them. Now, it's not saying that everything should be instance. As a matter of fact, I think, again, 80% of gameplay in Star Citizen will not be instance. It will be open world. Everything will be affecting each other, but there's still going to have to be some experiences that are instanced. I mean, technically, bases are instanced, right? Because yes, if someone's on a different shard, they're going to be able to see your base, but it's going to be in sort of a read-only format. They're not going to be able to, interact with it or anything. It'll just be a prop. So in that sense, the base itself, it's instanced to certain shards, right? It may be the wrong terminology, but it's still how it's going to be. Gregson's saying it right, 100% right here. People deluded themselves thinking there would be 1,000+ person battles. Yeah, and here's the thing. Not knocking those people. I was one of those people for a hot minute. I was. When I first got into Star Citizen, I was like, oh man, I imagine the day when there's just thousands and thousands of people rolling up on each other in all their big capitals and there's this massive battle. I would still love that. But seeing the level of fidelity CIG is doing or aiming for with Star Citizen, seeing what they're trying to accomplish, the pace of play, the style of play, it just became quite clear to me a few years back that it was impossible. It was impossible, right?
Well, we ran a kind of an inter org fleet operation. It was just one company versus the rest of the org kind of thing. We were like, let's throw this together, see what happens. Now we were in dead space. We were in middle space, nowhere. We had a lot of Polarises. We had several Idrises, all minimally crewed. We start throwing torpedoes just in general, just trying to lock on firing. We got Idrises doing stuff. We had fighters flying around. We crashed the server.
Right.
Because those torpedoes still persisted after they flew outside of visual range for people. Those things were still flying for a certain distance.
Yeah.
And it ended up crashing the server. So it's definitely something that CIG needs to work on more when it comes to fleet operations.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, Sad Plus Lonely says it there. It's going to be a way for them to tell some interesting stories, but also for you as an org or as a group of friends to have your own stories to tell where they're not always ruined by a bug because the server's overloaded or an idiot who just decided to come in and ruin your experience, right? Think of them as still part of the open world, but they're walled off temporarily so that you can enjoy a piece of content. But here's the thing. I get those of you in chat that are very much like, I don't like that. Part of what I love is that anything could happen at any time. That's part of the appeal. And I actually totally understand that. I really do. Here's the thing I will say to you is that I think there's going to be predominantly more opportunities for that to happen in the open world than there would be anyways. Again, I still think 80% of the day-to-day gameplay in Star Citizen 1.0 is going to be open world stuff. It's going to be you doing cargo runs, salvage runs, mining runs, combat stuff. You're going to be working up with the guilds. You're going to be building your bases, building your space stations. There's going to be sort of the day-to-day grind that everyone is doing, right? And then there's going to be the more focused content. So for example, the way I look at it like this, during the week, you and your org might be doing that open world stuff, earning money, crafting components and all that. And you're building and doing all that stuff for a couple of goals. Some of those goals might be to build your base, right? Another goal though could be you're doing that sort of grind gameplay stuff because on the weekend, you plan all getting together. You've all planned for it. You set aside time in your schedules. You plan on getting together, doing a big instanced operation, and you're using that stuff that you grinded for through the open world through the week to use in that instanced scenario. Again, very similar to World of Warcraft or a lot of other MMOs where your org or your guild may spend a week or 2 weeks crafting, potions and all the other stuff you're going to need for the raid experience that you're planning on tackling during the weekend, right? So I think having that ability is going to be good. It's all going to be about the balance, of course. Whether it's 80% open world, 20% curated instance content, whatever that balance is going to be important, right? Because CIG need to make sure they're selling the idea that this is still a very open world where anything can happen, because that is what I think attracts people to MMOs in general. But, that's why I'm a little bit excited that that instance content is coming, because it's going to allow CID to start sussing out what is the right amount, what is the right percentage of instance content in any particular system, right? They'll start with Nyx, I think, but it'll be, we're not going to know until they start doing that and testing it. So I guess that's sort of why I'm excited that it's coming. I'm not even sure I'm going to be a big participant in instance experience, but I still want them to do it because I want them to make sure that when we get to 1.0, they've already figured out what the right balance of this is, right? We're seeing video here of Levski. Obviously, 2026 is going to bring us Nyx. Of course, we know that, and Levski, okay, the big landing zone for Nyx. So what I think we're going to see right away in terms of content, and they're going to pull some of that up here. We have the Rock Cracker event. We have the tactical fleet operations and stuff. But let's just talk about day-to-day, that kind of open world grind stuff. What are we going to see out of Nyx? Well, one of the first things I think we're going to see are those cargo missions, right? So interstellar, or what do they call them? Interstellar cargo missions. And one of the places they showed that, I'm going to skip around this video like I told you. Let me see, where was that? Was it on here? Yeah, interstellar Holly missions. Again, thank you, whoever did the chapters for this. But one of the things they talked about with Nyx is that we're going to be able to finally use those exterior station cargo elevator things, which are really, really cool. We've seen them shown in certain videos and imagery before, but we do not have working ones in the game. But those are coming with Nyx. I imagine they're going to activate those in other systems too, Stanton and Pyro, especially at the stations. So I think all your stations above the major landing zones are going to get them. I think that they're just going to, that particular feature with that cargo, that exterior cargo elevator is now just going to be in all the systems, and we're going to be able to run those cargo missions from Nyx to Stanton to Pyro and back again. So again, talking about what we may see in 2026, this is definitely one of the things we're going to see in terms of just open world content, right? That's not like centered around an event. We're just talking about mission sets. I think we're going to see right here, and you can kind of see them doing it where they're loading the cargo from those cargo elevators, traveling through the jump gates, coming into another system. I don't know where this is. This Stanton? I think it might be. And then off into Pyro or whatever, again, doing those type of missions. So that's definitely one we'll see. And we'll see how that inter-system mission structure filters to other types of mission sets, right? One of the first ones I think we could see that come to, although we don't have this in game yet, but maybe this is hinting towards it coming to game, is bounty hunting. We know bounty hunting V2 is coming to game, the ability to hunt down NPCs using non-lethal stuff to take those NPCs into custody and deliver them to certain groups. Imagine being able to do that across systems, right? Where you start in, maybe you're in Stanton, you get a contract on an NPC bounty that needs to be taken down. Last known whereabouts were in Nyx, maybe, right? And again, talking about how those systems flow from one to another, one of the things bounty hunting is going to heavily rely on is FPS scanning, right? Scanning in general, but FPS scanning for sure. So, like I was talking earlier, scanning V2, we know it's in production. Maybe that is also coming, right? I think that let's talk about that for a minute. Art, I'm not sure exactly what your thinking is for I guess you call them features at this point, and on the video here, they're going to the Rock Cracker event here. But let's pause here for a minute. Just on features, we have a lot of stuff that's being talked about. We have engineering, resource management. I call them both, even though I know everyone just calls it engineering, but I really call it resource management because it's going to affect a lot of other things than just engineering.
Sure.
But also crafting, base building, scanning, bounty hunting, sort of those other features / gameplay loops that we know are in development to some degree. This past year, we got changes to, this year that we're in right now, we've had changes to salvage. We got further depth added to medical gameplay, so we've had some of the existing gameplay loops, have some furtherance. But what do you hope from a gameplay loop standpoint we see next year? First off, do you think we'll get a new gameplay loop next year? Like a completely new one?
I do. I think that we're going to get. I'm really hoping that we're going to get data running.
Okay.
In with all the scanning and the hacking and stuff. I'd like to see some data running. I do think that with what we were talking about, a few minutes ago, or what you were discussing with the interstellar missions kind of opening up.
Yeah.
I think it's a good way to help balance the economy a little bit between the three systems. I think we're going to rely on those space truckers a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to see that shown a little bit better than what it currently is with, some of the ways that the economy kind of works through things. I would like to see that.
Mm-hmm.
With the bounty hunting. What I would like to see is I would like to say I'm hunting, ahead of one of the gangs. And I'm hunting this guy, right? And I'm starting out in Stanton. I pick up the mission because Stanton wants him because he's been doing terrorist acts or whatever. So I got to go to Pyro to look for this guy. I should, as a bounty hunter, I shouldn't just be able to click and just go to a jump point where he's at. I should have to go to a station first. I should have to go talk to people. I should have to do some interaction with some NPCs, maybe bribe them a little bit, and kind of get some additional intel before I have to set out and find this guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but it's kind of funny because whenever you start thinking about any one of these sort of gameplay loops, like, so for example, you mentioned data running. As soon as you start thinking about those, you don't have to think about it too long before you start going, oh, wait a minute. We need this and we need this and we need this for that gameplay loop to make sense. And that's just what we're thinking of, which is probably the bare minimum of that gameplay loop. CIG is probably thinking even much further than that. So with data running, for example, you brought up hacking and scanning and stuff. Sure. So with data running, if data becomes this commodity that we have to run, we have to do something with, we need a lot of things to come into the game. For one, data needs to become technically, something that we can gather. We need to be able to gather data. So scanning, right? In the form of ship scanning, FPS scanning, all that. We need to have that data be something that is essentially has a rarity to it, right? Because certain data is going to be stuff that players won't have until they receive scanned information. So until they receive that data or they scan for it themselves. So data sort of has a quality to it that is not, where it's available to everyone at any time. the physicalization of data, right? So how is that data once it is scanned? Is it stored on data cards or data pads, or can it be sent electronically via a mobiGlas app? And then obviously value. So if data becomes a physicalized commodity of some sort, something that you would data run, does it then have value? And if it has value, how do you sell and do transactions of it? And why would you buy it, right? That has lead ons to things like, okay, if people do start scanning and acquiring data, is there a marketplace to sell it on, right? I've brought this up many, many times. I wish CIG would talk about whatever the marketplace is going to be for this game, which I really hope that is the plan. Some sort of, I know a lot of times it's called the auction house, but we need some sort of marketplace that you can go and place items on and leave them, even if you're logged out, and they can sell. We need something like that. And maybe there's individual ones for each system. I don't know how they would do it. So again, it doesn't take long before that stuff starts racking up, right? And it just depends on how in-depth CIG wants to go with it. But, in scanning, links into bounty hunting, links into hacking. There's sort of like these run-on gameplay loops that tie into it pretty heavily. And I sometimes when I think about that, and again, you mentioned data running, I like to think about, okay, well, what's the forerunner sort of gameplay feature that we need in the game for that to even be unlocked, right? So for data running or hacking or what's the other one? Bounty hunting, stuff like that. I go, okay, before we get all that, we need scanning, right? We need scanning version 2. And so that's how I kind of go back to the idea of, okay, maybe scanning is coming then in 2026. And I think that would be, prudent also just for them bringing a new system into the game like Nyx. How cool would it be if scanning does come out? Maybe it's Q1 next year, whenever it does come out, and there's missions built around scanning and gathering data on some areas of Nyx, right? And having that tied into data running or whatever. Again, things like bounty hunting, data running, scanning all tie in really nicely in terms of those features being introduced. They tie in really nicely to a brand new system coming to the game. You know what I mean? What better playground to test those gameplay features in than a system like Nyx? So one of the other things that was talked about was Vandal raids and these, sorry, I wanted to get there right. The Rock Cracker missions, and then I think they're called the Tactical Fleet Battles or whatever. I wish I had the exact name for it. I think it's Tactical Fleet Battles. Some of that was talked about. A lot of people I talked to were a little bit, they were both excited for it, but also semi-disappointed in it. And that was like, oh, okay, is the game just going to be all these event style missions? And I think someone popped in, it was a dev, I forget who it was, apologies, but popped in and said, no, some of these are events. Some of them, or most of them, I think, are actual, mission sets that are in the game that you can go back and do all the time. Maybe it was Elliot, actually, who's on screen now, who came in and talked a little bit about that on Spectrum or something. Tactical strike groups. Thank you, Michael. I think that is it. But talked about how these are going to be in the game just in general. And so you're going to be able to go back and do them at any time. They're not tied to a limited month-long event like a lot of the content was throughout this past year. I think that was some of the initial worry when people saw some of this stuff, is it looked very similar to the content-driven patches we've been getting this year. So there was an initial reaction of like, oh man, these are only going to be available for a month and a half, and I'm not going to be able to experience them and check them out. So that doesn't seem to be the case. These seem to be mostly missions that are just coming to the game in general. So you'll have plenty of time to work up to them, build up to them with a group of friends and whatnot. So, and again, going back to what we talked about earlier, I think the way they're going to do their content driven stuff for next year is going to be mostly centered around content that builds out Nyx, right? Oh, it's Henkin. Henkin, hope you're doing well. Thanks for the follow, buddy. I don't know why you weren't following, but I appreciate it either way. Everyone, if you were at, what was it? Equinox 2954. I think that was it. 2954 Equinox. I did a sort of a talk on stage centered around Starjump Fleet Viewer and some other things. And Henkin was the moderator of that and was on stage with me. And it was really awesome to meet him in person. Henkin's a really cool dude. Thank you for popping over and saying hello, Henkin. Appreciate you, bud. So yeah, I mean, again, I think while all the events they talked about, all the mission sets they talked about didn't they weren't stuff that I may participate into it, I may not, but at least it seemed interesting and seemed like CIG was finally bringing some large scale, thematically on point missions to some of these systems. So for example, the Vandal incursions, that happening in Nyx is really cool, right? So if you want to see the Vandal, you're going to have to travel to Nyx. I really like that, right? And again, we've seen some of that happen in Stanton and Pyro over the past, 12, 14 months of content-driven stuff as well. So I kind of like that CIG's doing that. It's given each system a little bit of a flavor, which is kind of cool. Not that you can't see some crossover, but I do love that each system is sort of starting to get a little bit of a personality. When Pyro first dropped, I remember some people just called it like Dirty Stanton, you know what I mean? Or like the rust-covered Stanton. But over time, as CIG's continued to fill out the mission structures, and they'll do the same with Nyx, I do like that both Stanton, Pyro, and then ultimately Nyx are really kind of starting to get their own flavor, their own personality, their own vibe. And I think that's something CIG is purposefully doing. That's going to come across in Castra as well, and then of course Terra, right? So yeah, real quick here, before we continue on, I want to grab a couple questions here. Sad Plus Lonely says, Grim, in this video, Sitcon Direct One, after stream, there's a quote at 2:45:27. I think we'll find interesting. We'll definitely check that out. Cosmic Troll says, how likely do you think the Vandal we encounter in Nyx are just human NPCs with Vandal masks on? I think it'll be the Vandal. I mean, I think that, CIG has the Vandal models. They have all that done for Squadron. So I think it's just simply a matter of bringing them over. I think it's going to be interesting to see how people break those scenarios and are able to I'm sure there's going to be people that rip Vandal out of the ship somehow and, tractor beam Vandals into stations and stuff. That'll be really interesting to see. But yeah, I think it'll be actual Vandal NPCs. Artemis TGM says, question, do you think we'll ever see a ship like the Starlance attack, but from Mirai or Anvil with a Paladin design aesthetic? Well, I mean, the Paladin isn't too far off from the TAC. Obviously, the TAC has additional features. It's a bigger ship by a decent margin, 53 meters or 55 for the Paladin versus 83 for the Starlancer TAC. But I do think we'll get ships like that from Anvil, especially once CIG really turns a focus back on Anvil, which they have been, but and maybe they're planning on doing this. But right now we have sort of the ships that are in like the 40-50 meter range from Anvil. Then there's a jump up to the 120 meter range from Anvil, and the Liberator and the Carrack. There is the Crucible, but that's going to get reconcept. It's probably going to be a much bigger ship. So there's kind of a jump there. There's a gulf of space there from about 55 meters to 120 meters where there aren't any Anvil ships. So I think CIG will try to fill that out. Anvil's a heavily combat-focused manufacturer, so I would assume any ship they make is going to have a combat focus. So take that for what it is. I think there'll be probably an 80, 90 meter long Anvil ship that is combat focused. You know, maybe it'll have a little hangar, maybe it'll have a little medical wing, sort of like the TAC. But yeah, I think you could assume something like that will come for Anvil. For Mirai, I think it's a little bit more of a question mark because we just don't know much about that manufacturer and how far CIG wants to fill their lineup out. I think some manufacturers like Kruger, Mirai, and maybe even like Argo to some degree. I don't know if CIG's intent is to fill out all the class sizes with that manufacturer. Some manufacturers, they do that, obviously Drake, Misk, Aegis, RSI, etc., Origin, but I don't know if that's their intent with every manufacturer, you know. We have a question from Rob. Says, how long do you think it'll be before we see Planet Tech or Genesis? I'm going to go ahead and hit play here. So one of the things they talk about, let's go ahead and talk about Genesis and Planet Tech V5, and that's going to lead us into things like crafting and base building as well. So Genesis was talked about. That is essentially the name for Planet Tech V5. There are planets in the game now, in Pyro especially, that are sort of like Planet Tech V4. But there's even some of the planets in Stanton that are kind of like Planet Tech V3 or 3.5 or whatever. They're actually a little bit older. Think ArcCorp. So Genesis, though, to me is a much bigger deal than just the leap from V3 to V4 was. Planet Tech V5 to me, yes, it's going to make the planets look better. Obviously, we've seen some of the visuals. You're going to see some of those pop up here in the video. But for me, the big kicker with Planet Tech V5 is Planet Tech V5 is going to allow for resource propagation across the planets. Okay. And that is the key thing with Planet Tech V5. Like above all else, above the visuals, above the snazzy, new features and stuff like that that the planets will have, the number one thing that's going to delineate Genesis from everything else is going to be that the planets will procedurally generate, or at least I believe it's going to be procedurally generated, resources across their surface. And those resources are what we are going to be scanning for. And based off the information gathered during a scan, we're going to know whether we want to build a home in a certain location, or a refinery in a certain location, or a surface miner in a certain location, right? That's going to sort of dictate our base building location. So for example, we can't get base building, in my opinion, until we have Genesis. Well, we could, but you would just be building randomly and for no reason. So for example, if CIG just wanted to test building like little small habitats, like our homes, we could test that without Planet Tech V5. But if we're building like manufacturing or industrial locations, like CIG showed back at CitizenCon 2954, if they're showing like a large scale surface mining operation or something, we're not going to be able to build those things until we know that we're placing those in areas where there are resources in the ground to mine. And those resources can't come until we have Genesis, right? So again, number one feature for me for Genesis. Art, what do you think about Genesis, Planet Tech V5? Anything stick out to you about it?
I do like, and you touched on a little bit, the resource management is going to be huge.
Yeah.
The availability of it making, we use parentheses of common sense, because again, alien worlds, obviously not everything's going to make perfect sense, but I think it gives something for, let's use mining, for example. They've already said, hey, these rocks will fall down from the mountains. So, your miners are going to kind of hang around the mountainside. Hopefully what that means is for somebody driving on, maybe I'm assaulting someplace or whatever in a ground vehicle, is I don't have 50 billion rocks in my way.
Yeah.
That's going to cause me to flip around and implode. So I think what'll be really nice in addition to that, besides the resources side of things, is I would like to see how quickly they would help us generate these planets, because that's kind of the holdup for the other systems too, is this planet generation,
especially when the visual quality is they're targeting to be this high. How much of that is curated versus able to sort of be built mostly with the system.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it'll only help improve also like the texture bugs that we occasionally see, or meshing not lining up quite right, all that other stuff. I think with the computer load and the graphics load, hopefully with all this, it'll help that out too.
Yeah.
Kind of smooth everything out a bit.
By the way, everyone, real quick pause. If you want to get in on the giveaway today, the giveaway for tonight is going to be the Deadlock patch bundle here, Starlancer Tac Paint, the Palantino armor, and then the F55 Deadlock LMG. If you want to get in on that, if you're watching over on YouTube, if you're part of the awesome YouTube community, we got 167 watching over there. You will see a YouTube link pinned to top of chat. That'll take you to my Perseus analysis video. Just go to that video, leave a quick comment. It can be hi, hello, nice to see you. Just leave a quick comment. I'm going to pull a random comment later in the show as one of the finalists. And then if you're watching on Twitch, you don't have to do anything. Very soon, we're going to do a Stream Racers game, and you'll be able to enter that Stream Racers game with a by doing exclamation race at the proper time, not now. You'll be able to do that and join that race. We'll take the winner of that race and the random comment from YouTube. We're going to put you in the wheel of names. We'll spin it, and whoever lands on it will get the Deadlock patch bundle. If you own a Starlancer, it's a really cool paint. One of the better ones, I think. But yeah, if you want to get on that giveaway, that's how we're going to do it. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a big question mark with Genesis, and probably the thing I've heard the most about is how will this help with the speed of building out a system? And I think that's going to be one of the interesting things to see in 2026. We're talking about 2026 here and what we're expecting. That's a really great point you bring up. In 2026, we should be able to see how fast CIG can build out and implement Nix as a system. It's a small system, but see how fast they can build that out into what quality level. And then that's going to give us a good understanding of how fast they're going to be able to tackle Castra and how fast they're going to be able to tackle Terra, right? And the tech is going to mature as they go along. I'm sure they're going to swing back to Stanton every now and then, update some of those planets. But Terra, being probably the last system they're going to do for the 1.0 build of the game, is Terra is going to benefit from all this planet tech stuff that's going on. And that's probably needed because I think Terra, chat, you could probably correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't Terra Prime have like 4 or 5 major landing zones alone on the city or on that one planet? Big Tonk, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Glad you enjoy Fleet Viewer. Just added the Paladin, the Shiv, and the Stinger to Fleet Viewer. Glad you enjoy it. So yeah, the speed. So 2026, I think that is one thing we should all pay attention to this year is how fast does Genesis allow CIG to bring in the full system of Nix and at the quality level they're showing in this work in progress stuff here. Which, by the way, all the Planet Tech V5 stuff, all this Genesis stuff they've shown is incredible. Seriously, incredible. Like, I was blown away by it. Again, a new high watermark for CIG in terms of fidelity and visuals, like 100%. And then again, you factor in all the other things, though, that come along with Genesis, such as weather, extreme weather, everything from storms to radiation zones, all that kind of stuff, which we've already seen little bits of this year in Stanton and Pyro. You start bringing those things in. You start bringing in the resource propagation around the surface. Other things, too. For example, one of the features they're bringing with Genesis that I'm super excited about, and it's one of my biggest pet peeves now with the game, is that from orbit, if you see an area that's icy from orbit, or you see an area that looks like it's covered in trees from orbit, you're going to be able to fly down, and that's what the terrain will be when you get down to the surface level. And that's because of these new medium tiles they're working with, right? So right now, if you're in orbit above Microtech and you see an area that looks like trees, but you fly down to it, it might just be ice. There's like not a connection between the two texture sets, but it does look like CIG is solving that with Genesis. And again, that was one of the things that stuck out to me. So again, when you take all that we're getting with Genesis, it's going to be a pretty massive overhaul. Now, the one critique I would say about things like Genesis is, and it's an age-old question, we've dealt with it in many other places in Star Citizen's development, from ships to landing zones to everything else, but is that with the game that's been in development as long as Star Citizen has, when CIG develops these new tools like Genesis or higher levels of ship build, the idea that CIG has to then go back and fix up older places constantly, you start to think, well, is this ever going to be done? And the answer to that really is yes and no. It's going to get done to a point where a 1.0 release can happen, but like every other MMO, the game is never done. They're always going to go back to areas, update them, move forward, go back to another old area, update it. I mean, again, I'm going to use World of Warcraft as another example again. With the newest expansion coming out midnight, they're redoing quite a few old zones, right? If you're a player of WoW, you'll know a lot of some of those zones in the Eastern Kingdoms are getting redone, right? They're being made bigger, better, all that kind of good stuff. Thank you, Whiskey Guy Games, for that follow. Really appreciate it. I think I missed another follow earlier. Coyote Down, thank you for that follow. Commander Solano, also, thank you for the follow. Really appreciate the support, everyone. We're trudging through on our follower goals. Really appreciate that. 175 on YouTube tonight. Absolutely incredible numbers. Thank you all for hanging out. And 98 on Twitch. Appreciate it. Again, share the channels with your friends, everyone. Really appreciate it. If you or a friend is looking to get in on Star Citizen, make sure you go to my referral link there. Use my referral link if you would. Trying to build those recruits. Want to get up to the Misc Raptor so we can add it to Fleet Viewer. Everyone needs a Misc Raptor in their Fleet Viewer. Yeah, I mean, so apparently Nyx 1 is going to be the first planet fully created with Genesis. CIG's been hinting a little bit to this idea of terraforming. I think it was on the last event or two on the loading screen. They talked a little bit about terraforming tech and stuff coming to Star Citizen. Personally, I do think CIG should lean into this whole terraforming thing. I think they should build an entire storyline around it. And here's why. And Art, I don't know how you feel about this, but with CIG being in development for so long, one of the negatives about that is that the story and the lore and the writers have created write-ups for all these systems already. We have the Arc Star map. You can explore all the other systems out there, Magnus and Castra and just all the other systems, right? As of which there's a ton of them, right? That maybe some of them we'll never see in the game. But regardless, a lot of the lore, the backstory, descriptions of the planets have all been laid out. The only problem with that is that now CIG's technology has matured to the point where when they come back to these systems, like they are with Nyx now, they probably look at their original write-ups and go, oh, okay, Nyx 1 is just a barren, dead world. It's pretty much a desert world with nothing on it. It's like, well, we have all these great tools. We don't want to just do a system that's, a planet that's dead like that. They want to be able to build out these planets in more interesting ways. I am all for it. I love the lore. I appreciate the lore. I love all the people that out there that just, I love that the people get so into the backstories of these systems and the planets and have researched it for years and years and years. But I think we have to be realistic here. CIG needs the flexibility to go back and change some of the descriptors for these planets. Plus, some of these planets are big enough that you can have large swaths of them be dead areas, but then other little cubby holes, regions on the planet's surface be open to different biomes and stuff. I think CIG should feel like they have the flexibility there. I know there's already some people complaining about Nix 1. Nix 1 sort of going a different direction than the lore dictates, but I'm personally fine with that. Art, I don't know what you think about that. Papa Juggernaut, nice to see you. 07, salute to you, buddy. Art, are you okay with CIG kind of changing the original idea for some of these planets and moons?
Well, like I've seen people posting in chat. First of all, the lore is an alpha.
That's true. That's a good point. It's a good point. It's alpha lore.
It's alpha lore. And not to step on Astropub's toes or his speciality in any way. I do think that we need to go back. We need to revisit things. The thing is the systems have to make sense. And when
first and foremost,
right. And when you're writing on a storyboard and you really don't have anything and you're just throwing things at the wall, sure, okay, when we were looking at, how many systems they initially had told us, this is what we're going to have. We're going to have all these systems and everything else. And now they've kind of stepped back and went like, we can't do 100 systems. Like they just can't. So,
the scope of the game has changed. Like they've said, it's changed. Yeah.
Right. So I think that they're definitely going to have to readdress things. I think a good way to do that is kind of what they've started doing with these narrative kind of push throughs. So I would like to see them with this terraforming talk. This is setting us up for future planets that were originally told that, this is nothing. Well, now the UEE and stuff has finally decided, hey, we've got the technology, let's colonize these areas.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to lead into, again, like we've talked about multiple times tonight, the base building, the space station building. We are the colonists. We are going to push this out better.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree with all that. And I think, look, if you think about planets as well, while these planets are obviously smaller than actual planet, they're like, I forget what they are. They're like 1/12 the size. I forget. They're a certain ratio down from the real sort of planetary size. But regardless, when you take that to account, there's still plenty of room to diversify the biomes beyond these sort of one-dimensional descriptions that were originally part of some of the arc map and lore descriptions. There's some descriptions of some of the planets where it's literally like it's a dead world, it's been mined hollow, there's nothing there, there's no presence there. What I mean? It's like, okay, well, that's kind of a wasted planet in a way. So I, again, fully up with CIG exploring that and doing some interesting things with it. So for example, I see someone there talking about some of the orange or yellow atmosphere. Wouldn't it be cool if, for example, you have, let's say on Nix 1 at sea level, you do get a lot of that orange or piss yellow light scattering in the atmosphere, and that's the vibe. But maybe there's some highland areas, near the South Pole or whatever. There's some areas that are much higher elevation, plateaus and stuff like that, where when you get to that elevation, the atmosphere, the light scattering effect there is different, to where maybe it's a little bit more bluer or purple skies or whatever the case may be. You can really start to differentiate some things. And because of that light scattering effect being different at those higher elevations and stuff, maybe you get different types of fauna, different types of plants. Again, that leading into future base building, right? And how, okay, well, you may decide to build your base in one area versus another area because of those biome differences. Could be really, really cool. One thing I wanted to talk about too, well, actually, we'll get to that in a minute. I want to fast forward here. One of the next things that they go into, obviously, is ships. Now, we're not going to talk about the 3 ships announced at CitizenCon because they're already in Fleet Viewer. They're already in the game. You know about them all: Paladin, Shiv, and Stinger. But what I would like to talk just briefly about, and I don't want to go too in depth on this because we've talked a little bit about this in many other shows, but I do want to talk about maybe what we think we can expect in 2026. And Art, I want to get your opinion on this too, from someone that does the type of gameplay you do. But for me, I sort of look at this from two sort of sides, right? Hey, Pumpkin, appreciate the subscription. Salute to you. Thank you for the support. Really appreciate that. But for me, I kind of look at it as from two sides. One, ships that I'm just have wanted for a long time, right? And there's 3 of those in production. Sadly, I think only one of them will be released next year, but that is the Ironclads, the Kraken, and the Pioneer. We do know all 3 of those are in production. I'm 100% positive that the Pioneer is not coming out next year. I'm about 98% positive the Kraken is not coming next year. And hey, Execute's in chat. Execute, nice to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. About 98% positive that the Kraken is not next year. So that really leaves from just the wish list of ships, the Ironclad. So again, I've said many times, I think that's coming at DefenseCon. I think and hope DefenseCon is going to be a very big event. So very excited about that. Now let's talk about ships we don't know yet. I think it goes back to our discussion earlier, which was centered around some of that future gameplay, right, that could come. Now, we mentioned a few of those things. So let's just take scanning for, a good base, a good talking point here again. Scanning. If some of those other gameplay loops require scanning, bounty hunting, Galadrim, thank you for that follow. Appreciate it. Scanning, right? Tying into data running, tying into bounty hunting, tying into hacking. Those are 4 kind of gameplay loops that sort of all tie into sort of the same system in a way. Scanning, right? What kind of ships could we see on that? Well, that means we could possibly see, if scanning is coming into the game, we could see a larger scanning ship. A lot of the ships we have now that do scan or do E-War in any way are I think, kind of like heavy fire. Well, no, I guess we have the MSR, kind of MSR and down. But I could see larger scanning ships coming into the game that could perhaps scan entire regions of a system, right? So there's certain scanning limits that are built into the ships in terms of how far they can scan. I would like to see with scanning V2 that range be opened up really big for some of the bigger ships, right? So for example, I think the Polaris in lore is supposed to have a really powerful radar. I think it's actually the only ship that has like a capital size radar. Chat, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I think I'm right on that. Why not give the Polaris the ability to scan an entire quadrant of a system, right? And get that level of data on it. Scanning could also bring in things like the hollow globe features to ships, right? So we could have ships sort of built around the idea of that kind of scanning and data gathering. Tying into bounty hunting, well, we know the Hawk is getting its rework. We've even seen videos of that from a couple of years ago where they reworked the Hawk a bit. We haven't seen that rework come into game yet. We could see the Zeus MR come into game, right? If bounty hunting and bounty hunting V2 is something we know they've been working on, I would assume the Zeus MR would be coming with it. The Zeus MR and the Hawk rework for sure. And probably some changes to existing bounty hunting ships, but it wouldn't shock me if we get another new bounty hunting ship, right? Again, we don't totally know what this is, but maybe this ship here, maybe it's a bounty hunting ship. We don't know, right? We're speculating here, but maybe.
Just speaking briefly on that silhouette there.
Yeah.
Here's my thought.
Yep.
What if that is from Gray's Market?
Yeah, it's a lot of people have been talking about that. It definitely could be.
Just because it's got that whole like meshed together kind of look.
Yeah. Yeah. It's got a little bit of a funky look. If my money is currently on it being a Gray's Market ship, the only 2 things that give me even a little bit of doubt, and I will say I do think this is, hey Havoc, hope you're doing well, buddy, and Citizen Ninja, nice to see you here too. The only thing that gives me a little bit of doubt that it's that maybe it's not a shiv is that one, we know there's Drake ships in development, Ironclad, Kraken. Anytime they're building big Drake or big manufacturer ships, you're going to get some smaller manufacturer ships of the same manufacturer come out. So that gives us a little credence that maybe it could be just a Drake ship. Another thing is I would love for CIG to come out with all new Gray's Market ships. Part of me thinks, though, that what we're going to see with Gray's Market is existing, ship jacker ships from Squadron 42 be our sort of Gray's Market ships for at least the foreseeable future. So ships like, this one here, which is that sort of Hornet, Mustang, Buccaneer combo ship. There's another visual of it. That will definitely probably be the next Gray's Market ship, right? And for those that haven't seen this video, I don't have the video queued up, but it's a combination of a few ships. It's a combination of like a little bit of an F8, a little bit of a Hornet, a little bit of a Mustang, a little bit of a Buccaneer. It's got like Buccaneer engines on it, etc. So this will definitely be a Gray's Market ship. Whether this is or not, I don't know. But those are the only two things that give me a little bit of doubt. I still mostly think it's a Gray's Market ship, though. Right? But let's say this. Let's go back to that thinking, though. Let's say it is a Gray's Market ship. Well, it really doesn't matter the manufacturer, but let's say they're going to try to tie as many ships as possible into, some of the content coming this year. If it's a combat ship, combat always applies to pretty much anything, right? There's plenty of combat stuff coming to the game. It makes sense. It could be a combat ship through and through. I'm hoping it's a bounty hunting ship, though. That's sort of what I'm hoping. And with the large landing base here, maybe that large landing base is more and more what I'm thinking that is I'm actually thinking it's a landing gear setup, but I'm thinking there's a ramp that's down as well that's making it look big like this. There's a ramp back there, and that ramp is for loading bounty hunting modules on. So maybe we see a host of bounty hunting ships coming in. Right? Data running. You mentioned data running. Well, what did we see recently? We saw the Herald got some updates, right? The Herald now, and I don't think I have a visual of that. I pulled it for another stream, but I don't have it. The Herald has gotten its ability for its little scanning array to open up. If any of you watched the original Drake cinematic I did years ago, you'll saw I animated those out because they were already in the model. They just didn't actuate. Well, it's an odd thing for CIG to add randomly, right? Again, hinting towards scanning, hinting towards data running, right? That means we would see for sure additional functionality come to the MSR, the Herald, but then possibly another data running ship, right? Well, and I'll ask that to you, Art. You were talking about data running being a gameplay feature you hope to see next year. What or a gameplay loop you hope to see next year? Do you have a type of data running ship you'd like to see that we don't already have?
I'm curious if I do think we're going to get some variants. I definitely think we're going to get a variant of 2 or 3 different ships for additional data running, because that's just kind of how CIG does things.
Yeah.
I would like to see more on the the implementation on like the tracker and stuff like that. Getting that AWACS availability in would be nice.
Yeah.
Well, so being able to run that scan and that data and be able to send it to another ship. Or, someone's mentioning about the Hermes, that very well could be, because Hermes in Greek, it's a messenger. So very well could be data related.
Yeah. And again, that goes back to that idea of if data can be run, as in data running, is data physicalized? Can it be transmitted? How is data represented in the game contextually? You know what I mean? Like all that kind of stuff. I know a couple people in chat are saying I'm on hopium, but remember, we did see some gameplay loop additions come into the game this year, even to medical and salvage. probably others, but definitely medical and salvage. And we also know that several of the gameplay loops I'm talking about have been in development for a long ass time. CIG's been talking about them in monthly reports. You know what I mean? Bounty hunting, hacking. I think they've stopped talking about hacking because they're at the point now that if we keep talking about it and don't release it, people are going to start to get pissed. So we know it's pretty far along, right? So hacking, scanning, bounty hunting, 3 things we know that have been in active development. So I don't think this is too much hopium. Will it come out next year? I don't know. I haven't said that it's coming out next year. I just say it's looking good that scanning would at least come out, right? Because there's been some stuff coming in with scanning that looks to hint towards it being on the precipice, right? I do think those gameplay loops like bounty hunting, data running, hacking all rely on scanning. So what you're saying, Art, is maybe a large ship. And if you go back to the scanning V2 Inside Star Citizen CIG did put out a couple years back, one of the things they highlighted in that was the ability to mask IR and EM signatures within a fleet, spoof, and other things. It would be really interesting to have an E-War AWACS size, or a ship that acts as like an AWAC, but also has the E-War functionality to affect things on a fleet level. Could be kind of interesting. Where maybe if a fleet is flying together and they're partied up, maybe that ship can alter or affect the IR and EM signatures of that group of ships, as long as they're within a certain distance radius, alter that to either look smaller of a signature than they actually are. I mean, again, CIG showed a little bit of that. They especially showed signature masking. So it'd be interesting to see if they go that far with it. I think they will. I just don't know if it'll be in the first release.
Right.
We'll have to see.
Well, and the thing is, too, is, we're talking about data being physicalized, and we've kind of seen that already with, the ASD facilities, and now with this new, push for, Pyro, is going and collecting these cards and bringing them back and stuff.
Yeah.
I wonder if, like what we've done with what they've added now with the medical side of things, where you have an item that's physicalized that we have to put into a med bed to respawn. What if they did that with data, to where we have these cards that, have information on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you put it into your ship, it enhances abilities. It gives you a boost for a certain amount of time for certain things.
Yeah.
So if you were able to say, you're using some sort of a scout ship, for example, you use like a Herald or something like that, to maybe assist with mining. Well, if you had a mining data card that you would then, then you would it would add on to the scanning ability of that, and you'd be able to see rarer resources and be able to point them out to your buddies that were mining.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Or, and when you think about scanning in that way, I think there's a couple of ways you could look at it. You could look at the fidelity of the scan, meaning the quality and or amount of information you get from the scan, right? And then also the distance at which you can scan, right? And I guess another one you could add in there in terms of just factors when you're thinking about the different types of ships they could release alongside this would be the not only the range of the scan, but the width of the scan, right? Like how wide of an area it can scan versus maybe how far it can scan. I don't know. There's a lot that goes into that. I'm really excited for a scanning update because, again, I know Execute has talked about this in the past, but it really touches on so many gameplay loops. We've talked about data running, hacking, and bounty hunting, but they ties in everything too, like base building and prospecting and all that kind of stuff. What else could we see? Again, if bounty hunting's coming, I would think we would see the mark, the Zeus mark. Hacking comes along. I think one of the first ships that we would see would be the Legionnaire. I'm talking about you only in good ways, Execute. Only in good ways. But Legionnaire, which we know was in development at one time, they paused it due to the feature not being ready. Now, the fact that it was even put on the list at all meant that at one time the gameplay team probably said to the ship guys that, hey, we're going to have hacking ready. Obviously it wasn't. Maybe other dependencies and other things happened that it couldn't be ready, but ultimately maybe now they've recommunicated to John Crew and his team that, hey, hacking is back on the table now. It's back on the menu. Let's get the Legionnaire fired back up, right? So it's one of those things where, like, if you're just looking at what's possibly the most likely, I could see out of the existing ships we know about, concept ships that are not in the game yet, I could see Zeus Mark, MR, the Marky Mark, and the Legionnaires being two likely ships that could come next year if our speculation regarding scanning and the gameplay loops that tie into scanning coming next year. Right? We'll see. I think that could tie in pretty closely with resource management and engineering too, because I think those scanning systems will scan for that type of data, the data that is manipulated and stuff via engineering consoles. So again, there's a lot of tie-ins there, right? A lot of tie-ins. So what else? I don't think that I
think we'll see the Legionnaire. If we get to that hacking, like I said, I think that'll be interesting to bring that in. That shipboarding.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that could come on board. Hell, I could even see that being a really interesting tie-in to something like the tactical fleet operations. I think that could be really interesting. But yeah, I think in terms of other gameplay loops, thinking about crafting, we know that we're getting crafting in a limited testing form relatively soon. I forget what that is, at the end of the year. So while crafting is not necessarily a ship focused thing, we're going to have crafting in on kiosks or the little crafting machines everywhere on landing zones and our bases, all that. I could see a situation where either A, there's a ship with crafting stations on board, or B, there is and actually, Art, I'm going to switch over to show voice guests real quick. Or there could be the ability to put crafting stations on board any ship, which is, I think, probably more likely. But I know Execute's joined us now. But so I guess I would put this question out to both of you guys. Just talking about gameplay loops, possible ships we could see. Do we think there's room for a crafting ship? Does that make sense? Or will crafting machines just be machines and not tied to a specific ship? Who wants to take
I got chicken in my mouth. You go first up.
Damn it. Now I want chicken.
Alrighty then. That was not what I expected him to say. I don't think, I think initially, no, I don't think we're going to get a crafting ship per se, because everything so far that's coming in is going to be smaller. I do think once we get to the level of larger...
One second. Sorry, you were too loud. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Adjust the volumes. Oh, sorry, Duck.
Sorry.
Appreciate it.
So yeah, I think that as of now, it'll be an item that we can put on the ship. I do think that after that, once we get to a point where we start crafting actual larger ship weapons, then maybe the ability to then, create a crafting ship to kind of craft those would be a better option than just putting something on a grid square.
It's a really interesting way to look at it, Art, is from a gameplay perspective, do they limit it to buildings or only really big capital ships? We know that they want to give flexibility to everyone to enter crafting and base building, but does that necessarily mean that they're going to bring out a whole series of different ships and vehicles, or are they going to limit it in a certain way? And I kind of look at it with how we've kind of got like the niche ships, the modular ships, and the variants, right? And I've said that in the wrong order, but I meant to say niche, variant, modular. But if you start to look at it like that, if you have a machine in the back of your ship, you'd have to assume that that is not going to be somehow as efficient as a ship that has a dedicated one kind of built into it. Because what is the point of permanently giving up that space when everyone else is just chucking a machine in the back? So you have to give a gameplay reason. And when I start to think of it like that, a lot more interesting things start to develop and come out. I don't know if you guys have even thought of that, but that's just kind of where I'm at the moment. It's just really interesting because it can go either way, right? Like, there's a lot of choice there, and I think they want to give players choice. I think that's like we've seen that across the entire game, and I think obviously the other part I'll add in there is usually when they bring in a new tech, we see other things come along with it. So I think when we do see crafting, when you see that little module come in, that's them testing the water. I think with base building and crafting coming in, I think they're also going to change to a almost building first approach before they spend all that extra time on the ships, because otherwise we're going to get things like the reclaimer again. And I think they're trying to avoid that at all costs.
Yeah, that makes sense. And the only thing I would say about crafting ship, like, I think I'm leaning towards that way because I originally was thinking, man, it'd be really cool to have a crafting ship, but it is making more and more sense that that wouldn't be the case. However, what I do think is that there is a real benefit to having crafting capabilities on ships that are large enough to have true engineering sections, so that you could craft new fuses, and possibly in the future subcomponents, things like computer blades and stuff, for onboard maintenance of particular things that are damaged in a battle or whatnot. So we know the Carrack has got that little sort of like 3D printer maintenance room that would make sense to have a little station there. We've obviously got things like the Vulture and the
Ironclad
Reclaimer.
Assault.
Ironclad Assault will be able to do that. That's another good
Carrack.
point. Carrack, yep. So it makes you wonder then, is that feature just going to be a kiosk on some ships, or if CIG will in the future allow you to put it on any ship as just a thing? I don't really know. I think it makes more sense to have it as a feature on some ships.
The most simple one I can think of is time.
Yeah.
It just takes so much longer to do when it's like a little one, where if it's a dedicated one, it's got more computer processing or something, and so therefore it can do it faster. There's many different ways you can go about it, but there has to be a drawback to a positive, right? You're giving up so much, like you're permanently giving up cargo area to essentially get this thing. What is the benefit of that? Like, you have to be so invested in that thing to make it a permanent fixture, and that's where you've got to make it worth it.
And I also, that's a great point. And I also think too, they don't want to take it. They've shown us already that bases, or facilities that we build are going to be integral to the crafting gameplay loop, meaning there's, they showed us a fabrication hangar, right? Now, it's not that ships don't have that. We know the Pioneer is going to have that. But even the Pioneer, with as big of a ship as that is, only has a fabrication hangar for small ships, right? It's like small and extra small. So it makes sense that they would tie that to bases and like big fabrication hangars and stuff, because the more ships you give that functionality to, you're sort of diminishing the reason you would ever build a base, right? Like, you have to have some reasons for why you're building these surface facilities, right? Now, that's not to say you're not going to have people that want to live out of their ships. You're going to have those people, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, it could simply be the more power you put in, the quicker it goes. So you need to generate that power. You've got to have a base where you just can't maintain that with, like, whatever the size 2 power plant is, or whatever the power plant you're using in your ship is. And does it also mean you have to literally stop your ship, turn your shields off, turn your guns off, so you can actually use the thing? Like, these are questions we don't have the answers to yet. But I'm always trying to get people to think about things upcoming, because it's never, ever as clear cut as we think it is.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. From a, let me ask you this, and this is a question for both of you. If we get, I'm going to go back to gameplay features that possibly could come next year. We don't know if they will, but possibly. Let's just go back to the scanning discussion again. Do you think with scanning we will get hollow globes in our ships? Like functionable ones when we get scanning?
I kind of go back to art. I don't know about you, but you tell me if I'm doing wrong. I'll give you a short answer. They tend to do things in steps, do they not?
Yeah.
Art?
I mean, here's my thing: is it's very hard as somebody who works with multiple ships around me a lot. It's very hard for me to be focused on captaining my ship without people calling out stuff and not being able to see where everybody else is at. And I would love to be able to stand back at that station or have a hollow view pop up when you sit in the captain's chair so that you can kind of see what's going on around you.
Right. Like, is a ship fore or aft of you? Is it off to your left? Right. Even some basic
Absolutely.
stuff like that, yeah.
Nothing like, it doesn't have to be like super far out, but just enough that we can kind of see what's going on around.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it really comes down to how much they got done in the last 8 months. Really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to be fair, scanning was close to being done back when the progress tracker was like truly active. So it's been almost done for a long time.
Yeah, but so was engineering at the end of last year.
Yeah,
that's hunting, and
that's a good point.
I don't know. I've just never really seen any.
Use your sense.
I've never really seen anything come in and take really large bites. Like they all seem to trickle in, like, and play it safe. They don't want to put anything live that's kind of like too big of a jump. Every gameplay we've seen, it comes in some kind of very small form.
Well, that's something I'm really excited. I know that Evo is supposed to get a engineering build. Was it tonight or tomorrow? Either way,
it's going to be tomorrow. Soul Kasha did his magic, and it's tomorrow.
What's going to be interesting to see with that is when we initially got engineering in on the EPTU. What was it, a year ago or so? It was cool, but obviously super limited in its functionality. It was very surface level stuff. It's going to be interesting to see when it does hit the Evocati this time. What is it? Like, how much of it is there? Is it going to be this large dump of features and stuff? Or is it still going to be pretty like a tier 0 implementation of a future large system? I don't know. I'm excited to see though how far they take it. I really am. Real quick, let me hit 2 questions here. Rabbit says, question, should CIG do the next great space station video series and have the community submit designs for space station? I think that would be cool, but I don't think they're ever going to do any sort of community thing like that again. I don't know what you guys think, but I don't think that's happening.
Yeah, well, we talked to Sandy about this way back when, because she also announced years ago the Great Next Star Marine. And what that really was them originally when they did the Next Great Starship was them looking for talent. And the reason why the Next Great Star Marine never eventuated was they didn't need talent anymore.
Yeah.
Right. They'd found a bunch of people. And so basically it just never ever eventuated. And I'd also point at the Redeemer. Look at all how what's the word you'd use for that? Like polarizing, I guess is the word I would use. Those engines specifically have been to the community. People either love them or hate them. And I know a lot of the lore guys like Algrid and Paul and Osiris, like half the Infrunners can't stand them. I love them.
Yeah.
Right. And I always said to them, well, you can just write lore to make them fit in. And what they really need to do to fix that is just make another little ship that basically has a hybrid, it's halfway between that and something else.
Yeah.
And it'll be fine. But they're probably reluctant to do that because it takes away a bit of their creative freedom.
Yeah.
And I think that's the other side of it. Like, if you're a concept artist, generally you're probably working there with a team and everyone's having a bit of input, so everyone feels like they're included, and then they go off and model it, so they're, they feel a part of the team. Where if you're essentially just being given what to make, you can talk to this better than I can because you've got a whole team of people under you, Grim. Like they like their freedom, don't they? They like that to express themselves. That's part of the joy of the job.
Yeah, you will burn artists out if you're not careful. Artists can be, as someone who's art directed for. This December will be 25 years of art directing for me.
He's old, kids. He's old.
Yeah, or you could tell by the gray in the beard. I mean, artists are, I hate to say, and I'm one of them, we can be a little sensitive sometimes. And if we get too burnt out on something, we can just leave and we'll go somewhere else. You know what I mean? There's a lot of artists needed in a lot of industries. So I think CIG, from just a retention standpoint and an employee morale standpoint, I think John and you know, Ben and other seniors on the ship team probably are very cognizant of, you know, how much of the same thing they're putting on any of the artists, and they want to bring things and diversify things. They want to challenge those artists, stuff like that. So, you know, and there's a lot of effort too that's put in on CIG. We've seen Inside Star Citizens on this in the past. There's a lot of effort put into things that you know, such as branding and manufacturers and attention to detail within those manufacturers and now the manufacturer kits and stuff. CIG is just very much moving towards an efficient ship production pipeline and doing any sort of like, and this would apply to any other team, by the way, locations team, environment teams, all that. Adding in a community element into that just really throws like a freaking M80 firecracker into your nicely organized set of tools. You know what I mean? So I don't think we're going to see anything like that.
So Art, has he done that to you yet?
I mean, I work pro bono, so
yeah.
No, but is he like, is he like going, I'm not doing it, Art, and he's like, I'm packing up my easel and I'm going home.
It may happen. It may happen. It just depends.
Yeah.
One day.
Yeah. Real quick here for the sake of time, everyone, if you wanted to get in, if you want to get in on the giveaway tonight, it is for the Deadlock patch bundle. It's a patch bundle. One of Execute's favorites. You all know he loves and promotes the patch bundles. It's his favorite thing. We're giving away the Deadlock patch bundle. If you want to get in on that and you're on YouTube, you just go to the link pinned to the top of the chat. It goes to my Perseus chat video. Just leave a comment on that video. It can be hi, goodbye, hello, you're handsome, whatever you want to put. I'm going to pull one random comment from there using Comment Shark. And then for those of you on Twitch, how you get into it is I'm going to do a Stream Racers race in just a few minutes, and you're going to be able to get in on that just by tapping a chat command, and whoever wins that will be the other semifinalist. I'm going to put both of those names, one from the Stream Racers race, one from the YouTube comment thing, and we'll throw you in a wheel of names. Whoever wins that wins the patch bundle. Again, endorsed by Execute. He's a big fan of this.
No, it's not. No. I've got a way to meme them out of fixing this shit, but we just call it the Starjump Attackless, and that'll fix the whole problem. Right, so, you want to say?
Grim, Artemis had a question earlier about the Legionnaire. Do you think that CIG is going to release that in a couple patches before the hacking so that the shipboarding isn't behind a paywall? Or do you think, and I'm going a little bit off their question on this one, do you think it's going to be kind of a Wicklow or something like that we're going to have to work for it? Like it'll be open to everybody, quote unquote, but still kind of behind a wall.
I think.
What's your thoughts?
I think they could add a Wicklow one, but I definitely think it'll come on board with the gameplay feature of ship-to-ship docking and hacking, essentially. And that's just because if the Legionnaire is not docking with ships and hacking them, it has no point. It's like
I think they got
completely pointless.
I think they got the little bit of the message too when they did they were locking gameplay behind the kits. I think that was like they didn't initially get what the hell the whole thing was about, and we literally said we've been waiting for years for gameplay, and you're literally locking it behind like a $50 paywall or whatever it was, right? And everyone's like that's just wrong. Like we paid for the game, give us the freaking game. Like so we got no problem with skins and stuff like that, but when you actually look gameplay, it's like guys, like come on, that's just not right. And they're gamers themselves. I think they really did kind of get the message. I was like, I messaged a few people at CIG. I said, like, guys, come on, like this is like the closest to the worst thing you've ever done. You know,
well,
and I think they got it. Like,
was that pre or post Flight Blades?
That was about the Flight Blades.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
That was bad.
I mean, I will say, to be fair, it's been a while since we've gotten a new ship with a new gameplay feature, like a new gameplay loop, I guess I would say.
And like Art said, I think that's why it was so bad.
Yeah.
Like it was just like we've been sitting here waiting for game for years, and you give us a new form of, ship gameplay for. Well, yes, it's only for the Scorpius and the Hammerhead and the blades and stuff, those ones that they showed, and it's only a small thing, but like there's not enough game to lock it behind a wall, and then $50, like it was almost a full price game. It was locked behind.
Yeah.
Like the bomb racks were $55 for 3 of them. It was ridiculous.
Well, yeah, and just from a pure going on a different side of that discussion, just in terms of like a new gameplay loop, like salvage or mining or medical, it's actually been a long time since we've gotten a new ship with the launch of a new gameplay loop. As a matter of fact, I think the last one was probably the Vulture with salvaging, like meaning a completely new gameplay loop finally coming into game and then bringing out a new ship alongside that. So again, it's, now that I think about it, I mean, it's gameplay loops have received updates. Obviously, we received some heavy updates to medical recently. We've got very recent updates to salvage and stuff, but it's been a while since we've had a new gameplay loop come into the game at all. So, if 2026 is the year, if that is the year, then I imagine we would have ships launch alongside the gameplay. I mean, look, nothing. I know there's a concern there about locking a gameplay loop behind a paywall, but technically right now all the gameplay loops are locked behind paywalls because you have to tie into them with ships, and ships cost money. So, and one of the best ways to sell a new ship is by releasing a new gameplay loop alongside what, as a matter of fact, I think that's still one of the reasons why the Vulture is such a popular ship. You know what I mean? And it's a good ship, but it launched aside and started a new gameplay loop.
Look, I think honestly, we would clearly see the build come alongside base building, and probably a couple of others. When that is, I think we will all be kind of assuming, like, you look at the roadmap and okay, base building and crafting is kind of ending. You've got the engineering there as well. That's a lot of big things going into one patch. I think it's got to slide a little because engineering just needs a little bit of other things in it. I could be completely wrong. But the way things are looking now was they wanted that engineering patch in August. It is now October. It's literally about to be November and we still don't have it. So that tells me it's delayed by like at least 3 months. I think you guys would agree. So if the plan was the end of the year, so that December patch, that tells me that it's now slipped 3 months probably until March, and also the holidays they have and stuff like that. So I think we're looking at early next year now for that. And a sale around base building kind of does make a little bit of sense to me, like a little bit of a special event. 3 months before or a couple of months before Invictus. I don't know if you guys think the same way, but that's kind of where I'm at. I don't know if you
makes
think
sense.
the same.
That makes sense.
I think maybe what I would like to see is maybe, I think in the spirit of Nyx and asteroids and mining and all this other stuff that we're kind of seeing with this kind of barren area. At least when I think of Nyx, I think of mining. I think of it's just barren. There's, I would like to see at least the initial of refining ships. I think the refining with the stations is there.
Yeah.
I think it'll tie in with crafting, because what's the point of crafting everything out of base materials? Because nobody's going to do it. So I think if we bring in some refinery stuff so that we can improve the items we have.
If you take what you've got there, Art, right, you're right, but you've got to go back one step. So it actually, you look at the mining, you've also got salvage, right? And we know that they're bringing out the starter salvage. They also talked about the orange large salvager. So you're going to have the resources you take out of the game, aka salvage and mining, and then refine them, which I agree with you. That is the next step. And then base building and crafting. So they almost need to have those two things in place so base building can then take those resources and use them, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, Sad Plus Lonely says, I feel like capital hangar services such as repair, rearm, refuel, having a ship released with them. Actually, Sad, what I think, why I think that's being prioritized is specifically because the event you see on screen right now, those tactical fleet operations. I think since that's going to be an instance scenario and there's probably not like a station you can just land on to rearm your fighters, I think they want your fighters to land in Polarises and Idrises and stuff to get repaired, refueled, and rearmed for this event. I think it's directly to that. Now, they may release a new ship with that feature. I think, maybe the Ironclads get some level of that. We know the Kraken will have some that. But I think specifically it's for the Polaris and Idris for this event. So,
the doing it manually sucks.
Yep.
And then some ships you can't rearm. The Gladiators one with the torpedoes, you cannot rearm it.
Did they
at all? So
did they fix the thing with the Scorpius turret that you can rearm it now? Because I know for a while you could.
I don't know if it's still bugged or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely the availability of being able to land on a ship to rearm, hitting a button and getting those fighters back out versus having guys out there with repair guns and all while you're dodging incoming rounds and then trying to attach missiles that hopefully don't roll over the floor or phase through, or somebody shoots them and then they just kind of detonate and then disappear. It would be nice to put them in boxes and keep them safe.
All right, real quick here, everybody. We're going to get close to wrapping up, but we did have someone ask us to check out a quote or something that is said around 2 hours, 45 minutes of the video. So we're just going to watch that real quick.
2:45:27.
All right, 2:45:27. I'm going to go ahead and play, and we'll listen to it and see if we can see what it is.
Once the power core goes down, the turrets come down, and then the capital ships can get closer. Why is that important? Because during all of this, you spend a lot of ammo and munitions and ballistics, and you're going to want to top up.
There you
This
go.
is where we're going to get our new feature in. Ship hangar refueling and rearming. You're going to be able to land in the hangar of select ships and be able to use the same interface as you are right now at stations to refuel and rearm.
It's specifically for ships like the Idris and the Polaris and other ships that are designed to have other ships land inside them.
So you heard it there. I mean, exactly what we're talking about. That's what that feature is going to be all about. Now, I know the thinking would be that, ooh, maybe they'll have the Kraken ready for this. They won't, by the way. I heard during CitizenCon, I was contacted by someone who was at a Bar Citizen that one of the ship developers was at. That particular ship developer was actively working on the Kraken. That is the project they're working on. And that developer told that person that the Kraken had only been in real development for about 2 weeks. So, and that there was still a ton they were figuring out just with the internal flow. So,
damn it, Grim. Most Grim Reapers feed on death. You feed on dreams.
I know. I'm sorry.
He's a thief of joy. Just what he is.
Just steals it all from our hearts.
But real quick, everyone, because of time, we're going to go ahead and do our giveaway real quick. I'm going to flip over here. I'm using YouTube Random Comment Picker. We're going to pull the YouTube comment first. Hopefully you got in on that. The link was in chat. Art, maybe you can do that real quick again, that link, if you don't mind. Or actually, I can. I'll put that link here. Make sure you go to this link, leave a quick comment on that YouTube video. You need to do it now, though, because I'm entering the date as we speak. I'm going to start at 9 p.m. We're going to pull a random comment that had to be left from when this stream started today. Okay, it can be any comment. We're going to pull one winner from here. And then we're going to do a Stream Racer race. We'll for all you Twitch people. Whoever wins from there, I'm going to put both of your names in the random wheel of names, and we'll spin it, and that is the person who will win the what's it called? Downburst patch bundle.
Next competition that Grim does, if the comment doesn't say Grim Reaper of Dreams, you instantly don't win.
That's right.
Exactly. I like how they've already figured this out. Okay. All right. Here we go, everybody. Going to pick a random YouTube comment now. I hope you were able to get in there. That was your last chance. So here we go. Going to end it in 3, 2, 1. Good luck, everybody. The shark is hunting. The shark is hunting. All right, Mandaloriano. Okay, there you go, Mandaloriano. I don't know if you're in chat, but I'm putting your name in the random wheel of names right here. As you see, it's in the random wheel of names. I am sharing my screen right now, right? Yes, I am. Okay, got your name in there. Mandaloriano, are you in chat? Not that you have to be, because I will reach out to you.
Can I offer a suggestion just for you?
Sure.
See where it says advanced, tick that advanced tab, and then when you go in there, you can put a number next to their name and maybe just put 5 or 10 next to their name and do the same thing with the other person. And then it's not just two 50-50 things. It looks cooler when it spins.
Ah, okay. So you could just, you just put like a number here, right? So it could be like 50 or something.
Yeah. And it'll put that many entries in for that person. So you can literally make it look a bit more interesting.
Oh, okay. Cool. Did I do that?
Up to you.
He's saying your giveaway is not interesting enough.
That's what he's saying.
That's
exactly.
I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they do it down under. However,
Mandaloriano.
We do it on fire while juggling on one leg, you know.
Yes, Mandaloriano. If you do win, by the way, you will need to contact me via Discord. I will confirm you are you, and we'll take it from there. All right. I'm looking in chat, though. I haven't seen you reply. At least not yet. Mandaloriano. Reply in chat.
I've not seen him yet.
Okay. I've learned, though, the hard way that I leave it up. That I give them a couple days to contact me. If not, then if they want it and they don't get in contact me in a couple days, I usually give it about 3 days. Then I'll just save the download, or I'll usually just give it to whoever the runner-up winner is. So that's how we'll do it. Okay. All right. So we're going to do a race. We're going to do our normal type of race here. Let's see here. We're going to do we'll do the time trial. We're going to do a dodgy theme park. Stand by. Now, if you're on Twitch, you need to do exclamation race to get in the race. In chat, you just need to type exclamation race. Exclamation race. I usually join just because I need to be in
very safe. I don't know about you. He wants to take us to the dodgy theme park. That doesn't sound precarious at all.
Jump in, everybody. We're at 61 racers and climbing. Exclamation race in chat will get you in.
I'm going to enter, and if I win, I'm just going to give it to Art. That sounds fair to me.
Sounds good.
I'm not going to enter, but if I were, I would keep it. Not give it to execute.
if any of us get first place, it'll just go to the second place winner.
Of course.
No. I'll just pick someone random from chat.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay. That sounds good.
I'll pick someone from chat.
Okay. Got a few more seconds here to get in the race, everybody. If you want to get in, we got 87 racers. Can we get it to 100? Can we get an even 100? Can we get an even 100 racers? We need 12.
There's 110 people. There's 110 people in chat. There are 114 people in chat. There's no reason we can't get it.
We can do it, people. We can do it. Exclamation race. Get in on it. You don't have to do anything. Although I think when the race starts, can't you do like exclamation boost or something to give yourself a boost? Although sometimes the boost can hurt you. Axel, thank you for the follow, buddy. Appreciate it. All right, 92, everyone.
Did we put them to sleep? Is that what it is? Is that why they haven't entered?
Everybody's lurking.
All right, everybody. We're at 93 racers. 95, 90. Can we get to 100? I think this community can do it. We need one more, people. One more gets us to 100. Art, you did enter, right?
I did not, no.
Well, what are you doing? You got to get in there. Exclamation race. Get us to 100. Come on. My OCD
is hard.
My OCD demands we have 100 players in this race. All right. There it is. There, we're at 100, everybody. Thank you. I see a few more coming in. Sorry, everybody. This is for Twitch only. We already did the YouTube drawing. That was the random comment. I wish you could do YouTube and Twitch on Stream Racers, but you cannot. I don't know why they don't. I think there's some YouTube rules that that make it to where you can't do that. So, all right, we have 103. We're going to go ahead and get started. 20-second countdown. Here we go. Again, I'll take the winner from this, and then I will put that name in the wheel of names as well. We'll spin it. Whoever wins will then get the downburst. Pat, good luck, everyone. I'll try to drive the camera around on the lead group as best as I can. The camera controls are a little dodgy, though, so here we go. I'm excited. I feel good. I feel good. I feel like this is going to be a good race. Oh, that's a crowded field. That is a crowded field. They're off. Oh, boy. Rough Gaming is out in a solid lead. Remember, you can't... Oh, Monte Clado. Oh, man. There's a lot of cars going out of the racetrack here. Oof. That is a large field. Liam, 1996, pulling up the rear. Stick at it, Liam. I've seen people in the rear win before. Okay, we have a lot of people. Who's currently in the lead? Covery Fire. Covery Fire currently in the lead. Rough Gaming's fallen all the way back to number 5 now. All right, there's Covery Fire going around the turn. Don't forget your exclamation boost, but remember, it can throw you off the track. I see some people flying off the track. You got to do it on those straights. You got to do it on those straights, everybody. Robert Vose
I'm at a disadvantage. There's a stream delay.
Just also would fly off. Robert Vose is now our leader. Robert Vose is now our leader. Boy, this is there's a lot of people on the mountain. A lot of people fell off. Oh, Robert has gotten a very solid lead now. Covery Fire dropped back to number 2 position. They're about to hit the S turn. Be careful around those turns, everyone. This is not a chance to... This is not the time to get creative. Let me put it that way. Hermes Conrad is now stuck on the wall. Robert Vose still in the lead. Covery, if you got that boost, now's your time to push past Robert. They're hitting the ramp. This is a true test of driving skill. Covery is now out of the track. Robert's on his roof. Oh, it's all over for him. Texas Horny Toad.
Drives like he drinks.
He tells them, now's the time to boost, guys, and it goes everywhere.
Texas Horny Toad is in the lead. Execute in number 3. Nice. Texas
I'm
Horny
not even
Toad
trying.
going past the last. It looks like Texas Horny Toad is our winner. Did not make it through the square, but that's okay. He's still number 1. Let's see who all makes it through the square. Up, Fledger right through. Fledger, the first person to actually go through the little hoop. We like to watch the field come through, give them their moment. Look for your name, everyone. I haven't seen my name. Am I that far back?
You're that bad of a driver.
I'm that bad of a driver. Scam. This whole thing was a rigged scam, by the way. Smoochy Boochy pulling up the mid. There's Rough Gaming. He led the race for a while, but he's unfortunately fell quite a ways back. Yep, there comes everybody. Got 25 seconds left. Hopefully those of you in the rear can make it across the finish line before it's all over. You want to keep your dignity as best you can. It does look like some people are stuck off the track back there. We do have quite a pile up over here. Oh, there's Starjump Grim. Look at that gorgeousness. Perfect. All right, there it is.
You perfectly missed it.
Texas Horny Toads being added to the list here. Let me see. Texas Horny Toad. Okay, so let me weigh these. So I just did 50-50. How do I increase the number of it, though? I don't know what I'm doing. It's okay. We're going to do this one. We're going to do it in a way...
You can apply it, don't you? Just doing the way you know.
Yeah, I'm going to do it the way that I know annoys execute. Here we go. Anyways, everyone, we're going to do this. If you win, if you're on YouTube, Mandaloriano, if you win, you have 3 days to contact me via Discord, okay? Contact me through Discord. I'm going to confirm it's you. I have a little way of doing that. And Texas Horny Toad, obviously, I know you quite well. If you win, you'll be easy to get in contact with. Just DM me on Discord, and I'll get you your downburst patch bundle. All right, here we go, everyone. Good luck to everyone. Here we go. Oops, I got to spin. There we go. And all right, it's Mandaloriano. Congratulations. Congratulations, Mandaloriano. That's a name. It's hard to say for me, but there you go. You'll have 3 days to get in contact with me. If you do not contact me in 3 days via Discord and claim your prize, again, I will be confirming it's you. But if you do not get a hold of me in that time, Texas Horny Toad, you will be the runner-up, and then we'll win it. Okay? So I'll give you 3 days. That being said, I hope you all enjoyed the stream. It's kind of fun talking about just stuff possibly coming in 2026. Obviously, some stuff we know coming, some stuff we're speculating on. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of content from multiple content creators around this type of topic as we head into 2026. We might get further details just based off some ship information at IAE. Maybe we'll get a little bit of a peek into some new ships, and maybe that gives us a little bit of a peek into possible gameplay loops coming on board in 2026. Last thing, I got 2 shows this week. One is going to be around the battle cruiser. I'm going to kind of deep dive that a little bit. It's supposed to be tomorrow. I may have to delay it, but it's supposed to be tomorrow. And then on Saturday, do not forget, on Saturday, I'm going to be doing a really interesting stream with my wife, and it's going to be where my wife rates Star Citizen ships. She doesn't know anything about Star Citizen. All she knows is that it's
this
a
is going to
space
go
game.
horribly. I am so coming to this.
Here's the thing.
I've got to be there.
Here's the thing.
I want to meet her. I want to meet this overlord that takes you away from me all the time.
I'm going to give her the 1 or 2 line elevator pitch for the ship, show her the visual of the ship, and and tell her what gameplay loop it's in. I'm going to say, oh, it's a miner. It's a small multi-crew ship from Drake. It's supposed to be kind of rough and tumble, blah, blah, whatever the description is, and show her the visual, and she'll rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. And she'll be blind rating these. She don't know shit about Star Citizen.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And if we need some kind of ridiculous goal for charity, and if they hit it, I get to come along and tell your wife how much you've spent on every single ship.
See, the good thing with my wife
just
is
watch her face. It will be priceless.
See, the good thing with my wife is as long as she gets to buy her things in life she likes, she's okay with me buying my things in life. So I'm very lucky in that regard. But should be an interesting one, just seeing someone who not only is not into Star Citizen, but also not really into gaming. It'll be interesting, but also she's worked for a long time in the feature film industry. She's worked with artists and on projects such as, for those of you that know that movie Gravity, things like Mad Max.
I know that one. Sandra Bullock and George Clooney.
Mad Max, Fury Road, stuff like that. My wife has been involved in all kinds of projects like that. So from a feature film standpoint, it'd be interesting to see her reaction to these. She does also know Gavin Rothery because Gavin came to did a presentation for my work one time, our company. My wife does work with me at the same production studio, so she knows Gavin. So it'll be interesting just getting, and she does know Gavin designed some of these ships, so it'll just be interesting getting her reaction to these ships.
Is she your literal boss?
She actually is my boss. She actually is.
It makes so much sense now. Oh, I knew it.
Yes. She actually.
This is why he gets
his
sick days.
This is what it makes
denied.
So much sense. Like it all clicks into place. So much sense now.
Everyone,
I'll have to pull a list of the ships, and that way I can kind of keep track of the rating scale.
Well, here's the thing. This will be a part 1. We're going to focus on 3 manufacturers for part 1. We're going to do Drake. I want to do Origin, and I want to do one other, maybe a smaller manufacturer. But we're going to do 3 manufacturers for part 1. Then we'll do a part 2, and maybe a part 3. So. She's up for it. She's excited. Real quick, everyone, we're going to go ahead and raid. It's going to be a good one. It's
thrilled.
Hopefully, from some CIG ship team members will be watching or lurking. That'll be a lot of fun. Going to send my Twitch people over to a fellow streamer that I have not rated in quite a while, but she's really great. I'm going to send you over there. Make sure you give her some Starjump love if you would, and keep an eye out for the YouTube schedule, Twitch schedules. I do have the week shows on there. I'm going to add this one with my wife on there soon, probably later tonight too. So you'll have them there and can kind of plan for them. Again, just be understanding that things are kind of shifting a lot for me right now because there's just so much holiday crap going on. We got Halloween this weekend in the States, and it's just very, very busy. So I'm going to send you all over to Hangry Sarah. a great Starjump supporter from back in the day. Make sure you give her a little Starjump love. Hit the follow button if you're not already following her channel. And for everyone, thanks for hanging out tonight. Execute Art, thanks as always for popping in, lending your voice. Appreciate you all. Have a great rest of your night. Thank you for the follows. Thank you for the subscription.